is having a lovely day. And yeah, thank you for joining us for this new episode of Hippy Dippy Recruitment. Uh, ooh, I don't know whose mic is doing this. Yeah. Chance of Flurry, your mic is doing a weird noise. I don't know why.
Oh, dude, I like it. I like it.
I like it.
I like it. Hot.
All right. Anyway, Hippy Dippy Recruitment every Sunday 6 p.m. EST. Yeah, and hosted by me and co-hosted by CTV, Critically Thinking Veteran. How are you doing?
I'm doing outstanding, and I want to welcome everyone to the Hippy Dippy Sunday show where you, bright young minds, are trying to get a spot, right, on the show happening here on Friday nights, Twitch Politics. Everybody knows it. They love it. It's called the Hippy Dippy Podcast. Right? Am I right, folks? So from there, right, you're all here Sunday to have a good conversation, get to know some people. Let us know what your meme game is, right? How entertaining can you be? This is what, like, this is your moment to shine, right? Not only from an intellectual standpoint, but from a charismatic standpoint. That's what it's all about, folks. So I'm looking forward to having the conversations with everybody tonight. We're going to do so in the best of spirits, trying to put a smile on each other's face. Because at the end of the day, if you can't smile, right, all you're going to do is just end up being a miserable little fuck, and nobody's going to be around you. And I don't want to be that guy, right? So from here, Geek, you decided where we go, but let's go around the room with some introductions.
Yeah. And let's start with Desmond. How are you doing?
I'm good. My name is Desmond Price. I am the host of the Independent Thought podcast, and you can find that podcast about anywhere that you want to look for a podcast, and I'm just excited to be here. Thanks for having me here today.
Hell yeah. Thank you for coming back. Always a pleasure. Trick Switch, thank you for joining us. Hope you're having a good morning. How are you
I'm
doing?
still waking up. It's in the morning, and I went to bed at like 2, so I'm really pumped for today. I love these things. Live, laugh, love.
I think we're covering the whole clock here. For me, it's midnight. For you, it's the morning. For people, it's 6, like basically the afternoon. So yeah, we got everything covered. But yeah, thank you for joining us. The Splunker, how are you doing?
Doing well. I'm loving CTV's enthusiasm. I'm more excited now after hearing his intro here, and yeah, I'm a co-host with the Chance of Flurry, Carl. I'm his co-host on our podcast. We're from Canada. How do you do?
Yeah. Always happy to have you on board. Well, let's rate to Chance of Flurry. How are you doing, Carl?
Oh, I'm good. So yeah, my name's Carl. I'm with the Splonker. We co-host the Chance of Flurry show together. We're Canadian, so right now we're in the midst of an election, which is interesting. But yeah, we're here to talk about unions. It's gonna be good.
Hell yeah. Hardwood and Suck. What's up?
What's up? As always, thank you for having me, Geek. You know, I haven't been as much of a presence recently, you know, with the new job and everything, but I appreciate being here. Moderate conservative, you know, just looking to have a good conversation about some fancy unions.
Hell yeah. Now let's throw it to someone who deserves absolutely no introduction. The Sprouticus. How are you doing, my dude?
I'm doing all right. I'm also a host of a podcast that's coming up this Monday. Not their podcast, but a podcast is coming up this Monday, so stay tuned for that. But I'm excited to get in this conversation. I'm a constitutionalist conservative. I'm sure if you've watched any panels on Twitch, you've seen my face before. Go to twitch.tv/TheSprouticus, give it a follow, give it a sub. Go to twitter.com/TheSprouticus and give it a follow.
Yeah. And last but not least, No Justice. How are you doing?
Yeah, right there. I'm doing very, very well, thank you. Thank you for the invite. It's much appreciated. Glad to be here. My name's No Justice. My handle's there, basically all the socials. I'm a leftist, trade unionist, trans advocate, pathologic player, Britbonger rights activist, all the good stuff. It's good to be back.
Yeah. So let's go over the rules real quick. So as you know, there's a change in the format. Instead of going for 3 topics for 3 hours, we're going to try to make it shorter, you know, to keep everyone energy top level. So yeah, we're gonna have one fun topic, one serious topic, and one fun topic to finish on a good note. So yeah. Sorry. I heard someone. No? Okay, never mind. Yeah, so for the rules, same thing applies. We're going to go opening statement, period where you can engage, closing statement. You cannot interrupt during opening and closing. Depending on the fun topics, we might do opening statement, we'll see. But yeah. So yeah, don't interrupt during opening and closing. Also, rule number 1, when I talk, nobody talk. The only person allowed to interrupt me is CTV, and it's not to give his opinion, it's to co-host, you know? But yeah, no, that's the rule number 1. So yeah, I'm not here to give my opinion, I'm just here to moderate. Besides that, nothing TOS, obviously, no one wants to get banned. Respect each other, you know, don't interrupt too much and everything. Also, if you want to chime in and you see that like people are already engaged and everything, raise your hand. Keep that as a last resort. Try to jump in as much as possible. But yeah, if you see that it's really impossible, yeah, raise your hand. But usually I will try to give you the mic and everything. So yeah, with that being said, CTV, anything to add?
You know, I'm loving the fact that we got lots of panel hosts in here. So it should make moderation for you just to be a fucking breeze, right? And that means that since everybody understands that, the charisma, right, of those arguments is going to be able to come out so that you can capture the minds of the people and bring the board forth, right? The best possible fucking show of yourself that you can, right? Because when you do that, what you're ultimately going to do is you might end up having a chance to go for what? Oh, that's right. It's called the Hippy Dippy Championship belt. Anybody else been in the run-ins for this thing? Y'all got to know it's gonna take that to get it. You got to know. So let's hear it tonight.
I've been there. CTV.
Yeah. We got two true veterans of the Hippy Dippy in every sense of the way. But yeah. Okay, with that being said, let's jump right into the first topic. So this one, I will ask you to consider this as like a chance to open up, to say stuff about yourself that you might not want to share. Anyway, here's the first topic, because I will be judging you silently. All right. If you had to swap your legs with the legs of any other animal, which animal would you choose and why? And I think for this one, we're going to go for a really short opening statement, like trying to keep it like 30 seconds, really. But yeah, let out your furry side, you know, get your spirit animal, just the legs, just the bottom half of the body. All right, and we're going to throw it to Desmond.
God, I'll have to go first. Man, that's a weird question. I guess
It is a weird question.
I guess a monkey, so I can hang from trees. Sounds like fun.
Okay.
Yeah, could be fun.
Decent answer. The Splunker.
Yeah, I think I might have to go like a monkey gorilla. I was thinking kangaroo maybe. It has to be something where I can still be upright and use my hands. Yeah, I would go gorilla.
All right. CTV. What's your opinion?
Well, I'm surprised nobody said it, right? I mean, these guys look like the kind of guys that would have such a brilliant answer such as this, but it's obvious if you just have a look back in mythology that, you know, replacing your legs with that of a centaur, right? And going full fucking minotaur with that shit is the only way to fucking do it.
Decent answer. Trick switch.
Yeah.
Hold on. First of all, a minotaur was the opposite. A minotaur was human legs and then with the top half animal. So you fucked that up. Second of all, the best answer for this question is clearly a large bird, such as an emu or a flamingo or a cassowary. Not only do their knees bend backwards, I want to be tall. I'm 5'2". I'm looking to gain some extra height through this transaction. Think smart.
I mean, that's a good goal. Hard wooden sock.
I don't know. I'd probably have to go with like a cheetah or something, you know. So this way, it's like if I'm ever like, you know, jumping off a cliff or jumping off a building, I'll probably land on my feet because I'll have at least part cat in me, you know, and then maybe I'll have like 4.5 lives instead of just one, you know. I'm pretty sure it's just, you know, all around. It's a pretty safe bet. Plus, I'm fast as fuck, boy.
Yeah. All right, chance of flurry.
Clarification. Trick
Okay,
switch.
Go ahead.
That's why I said centaur to begin with, and then said through Greek mythology, go full on minotaur, right? Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Chance of flurry.
Yeah, I gotta go chimp bottom half because one, it's gonna make things way more convenient. Like I'm still gonna be able to like get through buildings and stuff. Like if I've got a bottom half horse, you know, good luck getting in places. But so I'm going chimp half, and it gives me an extra set of hands. So.
All right, and no justice.
Assuming we're going to say that it's going to be proportionally the same as the rest of your body. So if you choose a smaller animal, they get extrapolated to be within proportion of the rest of your body. In which case, I would go with a flea, and I would be able to jump like fucking sick shit. That'd be so good.
Nice. All right, the floor is yours.
All right, so we have how many people in here wanted to be a monkey? Like have
Do
a
I,
monkey?
do I get a say?
Oh, yeah,
do I get a little
Literally
intro?
the most
Oh, yeah,
boring.
you can go first.
I was just curious.
I forgot
Well,
Sprout.
I'm sorry. I am so sorry. I forgot. My bad. That's on me.
I gotta go similar, not the exact same as CTV, but I gotta go with donkey. It kind of takes that centaur vibe, right? And then, well, you know what else they say about donkeys, so we'll leave that there.
Yeah, they're fucking Democrats. Thanks for outing yourself.
Oh, that's not it. But hey, I've been kicked out of the Conservative Party twice this week. Give me a third. Come on.
The infighting has begun.
All right. So 3 of you want to be monkeys, right? Like have a monkey lower half,
Yep.
Hell yeah.
right? But how are you going to run away from your predators? You know, like because
Not.
so
We're gonna
You're
confront him.
you're gonna confront them with what? You know,
Dude, you
like
can hold 2 sets of guns.
Fuck yeah, man.
4 sets.
You got
that's true. But then how are you standing though? You're kind of just laying on your back then at that point, right?
Well, if you got 4 guns, you're good.
Apes can
Yeah.
stand.
For clarity, Mr. Geek, just to confirm, with this in this particular instance, are we replacing our whole bottom half from the waist down, or is it
Yes.
just the legs from the pelvis attachment? Oh, okay, because that improves the people who've gone for monkey or any kind of ape descendant, because that means that you continue to keep your same reproductive organs, right? Which has lots of implications. Obviously, I don't particularly want to have to exchange them with the fleas at this point, do I?
Wait a second. No, he said from the waist down, so they would theoretically be replacing that.
Yeah,
Waist
yeah,
down,
From
that
the
means
waist
you
down,
also
yeah.
gain a tail.
Right.
yeah.
So
That's
this
true.
reopens
Gain a
the
tail.
whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, did
This
we
is
stop
actually a great
forgetting
thing.
like where's
Yeah.
that particular organ is on creatures
It gets
of
replaced.
this
That's
nature?
what I'm saying. It gets replaced.
Replaced.
Yeah, but it's like the same thing.
Yeah.
On a flea? I'm not quite sure.
Oh,
Yeah,
not the
so
flea.
the-
Yeah, no.
Next
That
only
one's
person who's
different.
not chosen a mammal in
Monkeys.
this instance, right?
Oh, no,
You've all
monkeys.
chosen mammals that have like similar reproductive systems to organs. I've shot myself right in the foot here. The new foot that I've just accumulated, apparently. So
Well, we've all chosen animals. You've chosen insect. You've completely
Yeah.
Well,
off
this is an
topic.
animal.
Well, like,
that is true.
I was gonna say though, if we didn't have to pick like a landlocked animal, like I probably would have gone with like a dolphin or something, you know, because like their fins are powerful as hell.
Yeah,
Wait,
you don't
Sasquatch-
want to live in the
Hardwood
water.
Sasquatch going straight
I don't know.
mermaid
Yeah.
with this.
I would
Hardwood
love to
Sasquatch,
live in
I'm
the
gonna be a
water.
mermaid, okay?
Yo, that sounds great. You know, it sounds like freedom. You know
But
what
dude,
I mean?
you can't
It's
breathe
like
underwater.
vast
Like,
ocean.
you're,
I know,
Just
but
your
you
bottom
can,
half, bro.
I know, but I'm saying
you'd just
like,
be trapped in the water forever.
I mean,
Yeah,
I
to be
originally
fair,
thought the
dolphins
duck-
also.
I thought
To be
duck
fair,
was nice.
dolphins also can't breathe underwater. So if he's choosing the bottom half of dolphin, they also can't breathe underwater.
yeah. So it's like
Yeah.
you know, like I'm fine going underwater for a little bit and then
But
popping
you got
up.
like a
and then,
human, like
I know, you know, but like
be underwater
it-
for like
yeah,
a minute.
like
can
but
also
think
see
about
it,
it. Think
right?
about it. Like the ocean is so free. You know what I mean? Like you can go anywhere. Like there's more ocean than there is land. So basically, I have more territory to explore than you do, right?
Yeah, but I mean,
And
good
I
luck
can
when
be-
a shark
You
comes
can't-
up on you and you're just a human top half.
I'm faster.
Actually, you're
Yeah.
not
Even if
faster.
you're faster
You're
than
not
water,
faster.
that
The reason
doesn't mean-
sharks are scared of dolphins is because of their nose. So you've accepted the bottom half of the dolphins, but you've completely forgotten that the top half is why sharks are scared of dolphins.
If we're gonna have a look at animals,
or something. No, go ahead. Sorry, Justin.
Because if we're going to go for animals that can go underwater, then what's the best bet than other to go for an amphibian, right? Be a newt, and then you can go underwater and also go on land as well. You're not pigeonholing yourself into one specific area.
Yeah, but doesn't that really come down to a conversation about like how deep you're actually trying to go? I mean, because if
That's true, that's true.
that's true. The amphibians can't go as deep as some of your deeper water animals.
And I've been known to enjoy going deep, so it's
That's typically CT,
But if you've got, like,
typically
human
because
lungs
of
and
lungs,
stuff,
though.
like, that
Yeah,
can-
it's typically because of the lungs of the animal of how deep they can go. You've still got human lungs, so you've got like 60 seconds underwater before you have to desperately have to go back up.
Sure.
I can
If
have
it's-
a breathing apparatus.
Yeah, literally, if you get the equipment, if you swapped your bottom half for like a giant squid, you would be unstoppable. Nothing. You wouldn't even have to worry about like sharks and shit. You're a giant squid. What are they gonna do about it?
But then you
Yeah,
can't
you
go
got
back
so
on
many-
land after that if
Buy
you're
a
squid.
snorkel.
Yeah, I mean, you've got so many tentacles there too. So
I a snorkel.
like,
A snorkel means that you're just gonna sit at the top. You're just gonna sit at the top.
How deep do you want to go? There's nothing at the
Buy
bottom
a
of the ocean.
snorkel.
Why would you want to live at the bottom of the ocean?
Yeah, you can go visit the Titanic.
There's nothing there.
I mean, if I'm in the middle of
Right,
the
that's
ocean,
your
that's,
thing.
that's where
Yeah.
I'm stuck. Like I'm gonna want to visit underneath and not just be like on the surface of the water the entire time. Imagine like the severity of the sunburn you'd be getting, right? If you just
With
snorkeled
like
your
a
entire
plastic
life.
straw.
Nah, you'd get tan as hell though, because like you would adapt right,
sunburn.
to all that sunlight.
You would not
No.
adapt. You would get skin cancer. Real quick.
Evolution does not work like that, my friend.
Well, I mean, over time, you know what I mean. After like millions
No.
of generations of
That's
myself.
assuming
Right,
you're,
but did
that's
you know
assuming you're
legs give you
reproducing.
immortality
Yeah.
along with that?
How are you reproducing? What are you reproducing with your dolphin lower half?
I
Yeah,
guess
and you're
another
gonna have to
dolphin,
survive,
you know what I
like-
mean? And then we make like a quarter human, you know, and it's like a quarter human, 3/4 dolphin.
yeah,
You
but
know,
in
and then-
reality, you're going to have to survive the first generation before you get to those years of evolution you're talking about, right?
Nah, you'd be alright. You know, I think
Every great plan in history starts off that way. Nah, you'll be all right.
Fuck the way evolution works. All right, you'd be all right. Just
You'll
go
be
do
good.
it.
you know, like I don't know. See, I feel like when you're like landlocked though, like there's so many more people, and like I don't like when there's like a lot of people around me. So you know, which is
Well,
another
it's even
reason why I
more
pick
fish in
cheetah
the
because I
ocean.
can run. Well, yeah, but there's a lot more space in the ocean. You know, like there's so much that we haven't even discovered yet at this point. So
I think we discovered all
in
of it.
reality,
Dude, where are you gonna sleep?
no,
Also, I'm
in
guessing
the
it'd be
ocean.
kind
I think we know where all the water
No,
is.
I actually hate seafood, so like that
Well,
would be
then,
like a big downfall.
That's our only
for me.
option, dude.
It would be a big downfall for me, no
Yeah,
doubt.
exactly. Yeah, so that's I wouldn't do that.
So,
You know,
like, I guess maybe can we mod? I mean, you did kind of allude to like full on furry thing earlier. So then, like, I guess the next step of the evolution of this, right, is to just say which animal would you actually want to be and why, right?
Hmm.
That seems to be like, you know,
We're doing full animal now? 'Cause that
Well,
changes my answer.
I
Yeah,
I
I
think
changed
that's
my
a different
answer.
answer.
I changed my answer.
I
That's a
think that's-
different answer.
I think, yeah, and I think that's probably like evolved this thing because, I mean, when you're trying to put the restrictions of the human body onto this thing, it really comes down to more of a form of function, right? But
I mean,
if you
no
can
one
take
had
on the
anything to
full
say-
capabilities, you know what I mean? Then like the conversation really expands. So
No one had anything to say about the donkey, right? No one came after me for choosing a donkey, so I obviously
would
got the
say-
correct
but, yeah.
answer, right?
Actually, I already
It
did.
says a lot about you. That's all I have to say.
Why didn't you choose
Yeah, it's
the
really
horse?
boring.
It's boring.
Yeah,
Yeah.
donkey's such like a donkey, horse, and monkey. I think are really like boring. That's like the equivalent of being like, oh, my favorite animal's a dog. Like, It's
Yes,
the very
your tier
safest
zero.
bet.
We're not trying to, impress anyone. I'm trying to go with utility.
I'm thinking about like effectiveness. It's effective.
I was thinking
I
about
mean,
so
it's
what-
for bugs.
I'm not trying to
you know what I
Other
mean?
people, other people
Okay.
are saying like
With my
flea,
answers.
dolphin tail, like those aren't effective. They didn't think about like the long term effects. They're like, you know what? It'd be cool to go that deep underwater, but you completely forgot you've got human lungs. So I mean, no one had anything to say against donkey. It's boring.
I have
It's
this to
boring
say-
because
Would
it
donkey
works.
legs? Would donkey
donkey-
legs increase your carry capacity? Like, would you be able to carry more shit as a result of having mule legs?
If it's from the waist down, then yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, why wouldn't you pick the horse? Is the donkey stronger than the horse in that subject? Because the donkey's just a smaller horse, isn't he?
It is a smaller horse.
More
And I would-
compact, easier to take.
It's more
places.
compact.
I mean,
Yeah.
if there was ever a reason for you to want to call yourself a jackass, I mean, go right ahead.
Maybe that's the thing.
Hey, I'm an asshole, but I'll make you smile.
I really like
All right.
seeing Sprout's skin get so thick. I love it. I love how his skin's thickened up.
So, are we picking animals now?
No,
Full
I
animals?
think we're going to jump into like the main topic right now.
Oh,
but
goodness,
before
here
we
we go.
do so, I just want to tell you why you're all wrong. The only right answer is bear.
The bear.
Those things can walk for miles and miles and miles. They evolved to be good on land and in the water. Like they have retractable claws and everything. It's perfect. I don't know why no one is choosing this.
I mean, I wasn't thinking about
Uh,
killing things, but
I mean,
Let's talk about
Why-
operating in human
you can
society.
shred a chicken,
Yeah,
chicken
that's what
with
I was
your
going
foot,
for.
you know?
Wait a minute,
The
where's
memories and
Danabo?
everything.
We know that the only correct answer is Lego Batman, right?
Oh, yeah. He's
You
right.
already typed it.
You already typed it.
But anyway, yeah, let's jump. Yeah, I think it was a fun topic. Let's jump into the main one, which is. All right. That's a little bit weird to change from fun to serious like this, but yeah, okay. Labor unions use a tactic referred to as collective bargaining to improve workers' conditions, advance wages, and secure benefits, as well as supporting members in disputes with management and engaging in political action and lobbying. Do you think in the year 2021, labor unions have outlived their usefulness, or do you believe labor unions are important safeguards for the American workers? All right, that's a tough one. And with that, I'm going to throw it to the Splunker.
Well, the question is, in 2021, do I think they've outlived their usefulness? I think I take everything on an individual basis. So even on when it comes to companies and industries, you take that on an individual basis. But in the large scale, I believe in the right for workers to form unions. Whether or not it's always the right thing to do, that's another topic of debate. Sometimes it can backfire, especially now with automation. There can be some arguments against it, but my answer would be I support the right for the worker to be able to form unions. And there you go. That's my answer.
I'm muted. All right. I'm going to throw it to No Justice.
I would believe in our current neoliberal paradigm of multinational corporations, spiraling cost of living, and the gig economy, the need for worker organisation has never been greater. The USA has a shockingly low unionisation rate. Only 10% of workers are union members, compared to, say, 70% of Danish workers, creating a chasm of unequal bargaining power between employers and employees. Research shows that unionised workplaces are better paid, have better benefits, and have happier workforce on average, shifting the balance of power further towards the working class. Now, the country is currently hamstrung by at-will employment laws, the Taft-Hartley Act, and substantial union-busting power of corporations, which is why I would suggest a transition from individual workplace unions to sectoral bargaining that would create the momentum necessary to engage with multinationals head-on. Lastly, the need for general trade unions and the repeal of the Taft-Hartley Act would allow for union representation in the party political arena, either by influencing the current duopoly or by funding a new pro-worker political party to directly advocate for the needs of the working class. The coronavirus pandemic has shown us that the working class are integral to the function of our society and have been taken for granted for too long, and it is time for the US working class to collectively demand better.
All right. I'm going to throw it to Hardwood and Salk.
Yeah, so I'm actually pretty pro-union. I think they actually serve a very good purpose in our society, in protecting, workers' rights from management, helping, negotiate better wages, better benefits, stuff like that. That's just like in general, but like there are some negatives to it. Like there are some some things that unions do that I don't necessarily like, in regards to like trying to push public health policy or trying to influence elections. I think that it should really be focused more on their workers and keeping it in the workplace and negotiating with management, and protecting them from getting fired. There are some really good examples of very strong unions, like the teachers union is a very strong union, and the police union, very strong union, right? I know a lot of people hate the police union, but at the same time, they do a really good job for what a union is supposed to do. I think some unions don't have that kind of power. And I would like to see, more of that collective bargaining and whatnot between management and the workers. I think that would be very beneficial for society as a whole.
All right. I'm going to throw it to Spartacus.
I think unions have outlived outlived their usefulness. We've seen again and again and again the outcome of unions. Unions, they act as a monopoly. That if you join a workforce, there is only one union you're forced to join. So unions 100% act as a monopoly, and they've got other side effects as well. They cause inflation, they cause layoffs, they cause bankruptcy, and ultimately unions cause outsourcing. And so I think these are all damaging to the working force. I think that the unions have outlived their usefulness, and they need to go away or be rebuilt from the ground up.
Strong words. I'm going to throw it to Trick Switch.
Yeah, I'm incredibly pro-union. I'm a member of my union for my field, I guess. We just kind of have one per, like, whatever you work in. So if you work in hospitality, there's like a hospitality union. It's not really case by company. Also, they're free to join most of the time. You get it all back on taxes. Unions are the whole reason why I get like penalty rates, which is where you get like time and a half on public holidays. Unions are the whole reason why we have the 8-hour workday, and we don't have to work for 12 hours a day. Like, honestly, I don't see a downside to having unions. I don't see a downside to unionizing. It just seems like a good time. Like, you get more leverage as a worker. So I think it's really cool.
All right. I'm going to throw it to Chancellor Flurry.
All right. Well, I agree with that. I think unions are really cool. I think, union workers in large in the United States, you can see they're paid better. They get, more benefits, better health coverage, more vacation days, more paid holidays, more sick days. They generally have access to the same type of overtime as non-union workers. There's really no downside. It just gives you leverage as a worker who is, obviously at a lower level than your management, to kind of get together. This is why it's called collective bargaining, and just we use our collective power against that of management. I think, that's the struggle that is inherent in a capitalist workplace, and that needs to exist. Otherwise, what are we just going to let management run all over the worker? So, yeah, I don't think they've lost their place. I think, if anything, we should be expanding unions. So that's where I stand.
All right. Desmond, did you go?
I haven't yet, no.
All right. Your turn.
Yeah, I think that unions have not outlived their usefulness. I think what we're seeing right now in our country is that, workers in the workplace are at an all-time low as far as protections are concerned. I mean, when unions work correctly, and I'm not saying that they all work correctly, but when they do work correctly, they do seem to have a tangible benefit that you can point to. I think the most notable ones, Hardwood and Sock mentioned teachers unions, police unions, but I also want to just mention, some sports unions. Because, in Major League sports, the Major League Baseball has like a profit sharing with the players and the owners. They share, I think 47% goes to the players. In the NFL, it's 48%. In NBA, it's 50%. So with those like major unions, those workers, those employees get paid substantially more than your average worker would. And when you look at non-union workers, just in other industries, think about health insurance, for instance. It would seem that on average, I think 67% of non-union workers have access to health insurance through their companies, but versus when union workers have up to 94% of them are covered by health insurance on their companies. And also we mentioned that they get paid more. So union workers on average right now are getting about 19% more money than non-union workers, which equates to about $800 a month. And truthfully speaking, if unions weren't really that necessary, if they weren't like a threat, then companies like Amazon wouldn't be going so far out of their way to make sure that unionization efforts didn't happen to them. And as far as I'm concerned, if anyone knows how to make money, it's Amazon, and they were obviously threatened by the unionization effort in Alabama, so I'm deferring to their good judgment. They thought it was a threat. Obviously, it must be a good thing for workers. I'm on the side that unions have not outlived their usefulness.
All right, and last but not least, CTV.
Well, what were the purpose of unions back in the day? Right? It wasn't so much about pay, right? It was about workers' conditions. And now we're at a point in history where, like, a lot of the workers' conditions are usually pretty good from the start, right? There's a lot of regulations in place, like OSHA, right, that make sure that, like, certain safety regulations have to be followed, right? There's, like, for instance, with truck driving, right? Your federal laws with regard to the FMCSR, or Federal Motor Carrier Safety Regulations Manual, right? So, like, that was the original intent of a lot of these labor unions, and now we've shifted it over to, like, the conversation about pay and stuff. And whenever there is a particular job that someone is doing, say they're doing the package moving from this shelf to the fucking this shelf, or whatever the fucking job is, if it's the same repetitive shit that pretty much you could teach anybody to do, there's usually just a set, we can afford to pay somebody X amount of dollars to do this job. So then once the people get in there and they start complaining about, oh, well, we don't like that we're only getting paid X amount for this job, when in, like, reality, if you don't want to do this job, you absolutely can go do something else in order to make money for yourself. So it's one of those where the things that labor unions could actually do would be to start actually taking a lot of look at the labor laws to see which ones would actually be negatively impacting workers, so that maybe they could rein in their government a little bit, so that it would allow for maybe the corporations to be a little bit more efficient with their resources. That way, it would be a little bit better for them to be able to give more of the fucking, money made from the product that they're manufacturing and selling, or the good or service that they're doing, back to the fucking worker. So, do they have a place? Yeah, I just don't think they themselves quite understand exactly what that is.
All right, and with that being said, the floor is yours.
Okay, well, I think that in terms of what CTV was just talking about, I mean, what I would say is that we still need someone who can bring that dichotomy between, because if you're going to release the managers and you're going to release the corporation from the bonds of the government, then you're still going to need something to even that out between the workers and management, because as we've seen, when you cut these government regulations, generally what the corporations do is that management ends up being the ones who get all of the benefit. They're the ones who see the hikes in salaries, so it doesn't generally trickle down to the workers the way that you mentioned would. The way that we do that is by organizing and by using our power. I mean, if the pandemic taught us anything, we saw that the guy who moves the box from here to here is part of what they call the essential workforce.
Let
right?
me ask
The
you a very
management,
basic.
the management is not.
What's
Let me ask you a very basic question, right? Let's say you're trying to put together a pickup truck, right? Or let's just go way simpler than that. Something like a wagon, right? And you've got 5 people, and you say, "Hey, you're going to worry about just the axles. Hey, you're going to go chop down the tree so that we can have the wood here. You, when the wood gets here, you're going to cut it into slats. That way we can nail shit together. You are running to the hardware store to get the fucking nails, right?" And you give everybody a job, and then they go do it, right? And then the wagon gets put together just as you said while you're working along with them, right? Who was the most benefit in that scenario? The person that was managing everybody else and putting the plan together. So this is true in anything that you're ever trying to build. So while I can definitely appreciate the argument of the workers, deserving their fair share, absolutely. But it's not to say at the same time that somehow that the people that were putting together the big fucking part of the plan shouldn't be the first ones that end up getting their pay raises because they were using the resources that they had as efficiently as they could to get to the goals that they had.
Who here is part of a union? Raise your hand. Just by a raise of hands, who here is part of a union? Okay. And keep your hands raised if it was optional to be in that union once you accepted the job. Keep your hands raised if it was optional.
Oh, optional.
Okay, so Trix and No Justice, you guys weren't forced to join the union?
Single person.
Okay.
That's not even a thing in my country that.
Yeah, because we have I'm assuming in Australia you have it as sectoral bargaining through general trade unions and through specific trades, right? It's not like in the US where it's all individual workplace unions, because that's unfortunately because of Taft-Hartley you can't really do. Whereas I'm assuming I don't really know about labour laws in Australia, but in the UK I'm part of the communication workers union because I work in telesales. So that covers this single union of, I think it's 400,000 people, collectively bargains on behalf of workers against all of the other employees.
Did you join that union, or were you in that union because you accepted that job? Because you're in that workforce that you're in that union.
How do you mean? Are you saying that did I have to join because I was in the job I was in? No.
Did you join the union, or was it you in the job so you're automatically in the union?
No. I joined the union voluntarily.
Okay, so it seems like it may be different overseas, but in the United States, if you accept a job that's unionized, you are forced to join the union. You are forced to pay union dues. These are things you are forced to do. I hear a lot of people.
Closed-shop unions closed-shop unions aren't mandatory in right-to-work states. There's 27 of the US states are right-to-work states where closed-shop unions aren't allowed. So it depends on where you are in the US in that regard.
Okay, well, there are certain unions to where if you join that job, it's just an explicit you're going to join the union. I understand the right to work. The right to work is a little bit different than what I think you understand.
Like a lot of workplaces
but so everyone's talking about getting paid more. Everyone continues to say, yeah, people who are in unions, they're typically paid more. Here's the issue with that argument. When you go into that they're paid more, yes, that may be true on its face. But when you actually look at it, they're being given a higher wage, and there's not the increase of productivity that goes along with that wage. The increase of productivity is not there when these workers are given a higher wage. So since this is happening through the economy, the government is then forced to print more money, which raises inflation, which means that the money that you are getting that's extra, the higher wage, is now meaningless because inflation's now raised and the prices of the goods that you're wanting to get now cost more.
Worker remuneration in regards with respect to increase in productivity. Productivity has been rising since the 80s. Work remuneration hasn't risen.
Yeah, before y'all get off on a different tangent, Sprout, I was hoping you were going to go like a little bit different direction with that. Like it would have made much more sense if with the beginning of that, and instead of going into like trying to bring the government and taxes and everything else into it, if you would have simply said that you would have driven the motivation for people that as working as individuals would be able, say they've got, certification A, B, and C down the line to be able to, show this is my experience, right? And then they go into the interview and they let their level of knowledge be known and be able to describe whatever it is they're working on versus somebody else that may be coming under the same job title but doesn't have all that necessary experience ahead of time. and then they end up more in the position of, say, leading other people simply because they have the level of knowledge, but they're still working under the same job title. And this happens a lot in other companies too. So like the union ends up forcing the labor price across the board, which is, you're absolutely right there. But it creates the dynamic where now the person is de-incentivized from doing labor here, and then the other ones were still doing like half of it from there, and then they get raised up here, but there's not the increased productivity. It was just that the hop over to the government side of it and inflation kind of made me go, whoa, where did he go there? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that makes sense. And
Yeah.
my third point is, again, the people who are in favor of unions, raise your hand. I'm assuming that's everyone that's not a host in here. I think everyone said they were in favor of unions. Am I correct in that statement?
Yep.
Okay. So if you were in favor of unions in your opening statement, please also raise your hand if you're in favor of like something along the Green New Deal. Okay, so 2 of you are in favor of something along the lines of the Green New Deal?
I am.
Okay. Do you two understand that the biggest unions are actually fighting against the Green New Deal? Do you know that?
No.
I mean, I don't know with respect to the United States. I know in the UK, all of the trade unions Congress is very in favour of public spending with regards to green energy. So, I mean, and
well, I'm talking American politics. I didn't really. I honestly, I had an hour to prepare for this panel. I didn't really look at other countries and the way unions work in other countries. So I'm strictly talking about American unions when I'm talking. So,
which unions are you referring to, and did they specify why they're against it?
AFL and CIO.
So 2 of them.
They said the plan could cause immediate harm. I said 2 of the biggest unions. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm not sure what their reasonings are, why they're against it. But I do want to push back on one thing that you said. You said that, it would cause, a bunch of inflation if there was a higher rate of unionization in the country. That seems to be categorically not true, seeing as how the rate of unionization in our country was dramatically higher in the 1970s. And the rate of inflation during that decade is pretty similar to what it is today. And the rate of unionization has gone down sharply since then. So, I mean, if that was the case, you would think that our inflation would also have gone down sharply, but it hasn't.
So something about the unions have changed, right? Something about the unions have changed.
What is that?
Do you think the unions are the same? I mean, you're comparing unions from.
I was just going after the statement that you
today.
said specifically.
Did they do the same job?
You said specifically
the
that the rate of unionization leads to inflation, and I was just saying that obviously it doesn't seem that way.
In today's world, it does. In yesterday's world, it
didn't, though. In the 1970s, it didn't.
So yeah, because if you actually look at unions, they were different in the 1970s.
In what way were they not impacting inflation then that they are now? I mean, because if you're going to make a statement, you should say
it wasn't as much workers' wages as it was the safety standards of the workplace.
So they weren't getting paid more at that time than they are now.
Did you not know this?
I'm asking questions because if you're going to make a statement, I'm asking you to defend your point. So I don't have to. Yeah.
So in the 1970s, the 1970s, the labor unions were more about workers' safety and the conditions in which they work. That was the 1970s labor unions. The labor unions now hardly ever talk about workers' safety because we have things like OSHA. We have things workers' safety is pretty much standard now. So the labor unions have moved past worker safety, and now they've moved on to wages. In the 1970s, they weren't extremely concerned with wages.
Okay, so they weren't as concerned with wages, but the question really becomes, were unionized workers getting paid more in the 1970s? So it doesn't matter whether or not they were more focused on it. The question is, were they getting paid more? Because that is directly tied to inflation. Because if you're saying that these unionized workers are getting paid more, that would be directly tied to inflation. But if they weren't getting paid more, then you'd have an argument. But it seems as though they've always been paid more.
Oh, let's look it up. Let's look it up, shall we?
That's fine.
And also, like, as I've mentioned, work remuneration hasn't risen with productivity either in the last 40 years. Like, not at the same rate at the very least. So the fact that the work remuneration hasn't gone up, in tandem, would also suggest that the inflation, the level to which pay has gone up, isn't causing inflation because it's not really gone up in real terms anyway.
You're saying inflation hasn't happened in the United States in real terms?
No, I'm saying that wage increases haven't happened in real terms.
Workers' wages have okay.
At least not in line with productivity.
No, definitely
No,
not in line
definitely
with
not.
productivity. I'll agree with you there. Oh, let's see. Union wages versus non-union wages. Did you say 1970?
Yes.
All right, let's see here. I mean,
'Cause-
this is an awfully specific stat, so it may take me a second to
No, that's
find. So
fine.
if someone else wants to
Yeah.
talk while I look, but
I
yeah.
think just for
so-
comparison's sake, just know that like the current, it seems like the current difference is that unionized workers today get about 20% more in pay. So if you want to compare that with whatever you're looking for.
Okay.
So another negative that like I have seen with unions, like I used to be part of one, I'm not anymore, is that like if you want a day off, I guess it all depends on their certain contracts, but let's say you got in a car accident, right? Or no, that's too specific. Let's say you got a flat tire on your way to work, right? And you can't make it. Well, there's no difference between that PTO day and like a PTO day if you just had like a death in the family. Obviously it's contract specific, but so whereas a private company, they can give you discretion, for instance, the company I currently work for, if there's a death in the family, they'll give me, bereavement pay, for like a few days. And, if something comes up and I need a day off, well, then, they're a lot more willing to accept it versus, if you're in a unionized job, well, you can't just take off, all willy-nilly, and still get paid for it. So like there are discretionary issues with unions where it's like very regimented and very structured in regards to the way that you're like the worker are dealing with management, and it's all up to you whether you think that's good enough for you or not, and also like I know Desmond, you said that they on average they make 20% more or whatever, right? But they are also taking out union dues, which is what Sprout said, so you are kind of seeing a little bit of reduction, maybe not that much. It depends on the union, how much the dues are, whatever, right? So like that's another kind of negative thing, and who knows if they're going to actually use that money to fight for what you want. What if you want like we'll take the teachers union, right? Recently, right? Emails were released that they were pushing for masking in schools, right? Where the CDC didn't originally have that policy or that guidance in place, right? Well, what if I'm a teacher, I'm paying union dues, and I don't feel like they should be doing that, right? Well, then you're not being represented necessarily by your union. You know what I mean? So like there are backs and forths there where it's like it's not always a positive thing, So like
unions are. Sorry.
no, go ahead.
Oh,
You're good.
I was going to say, but well, unions are democratic organisations, unfortunately.
Right.
Sometimes, and in the teachers' unions, with regards to that, I'm assuming there was a ballot for this particular issue, and they've decided democratically that they would like there to be a mask mandate.
Well, not necessarily. Well, all right. So for like, I was part of the AFA, right? The flight attendants union, right? I never got to vote on anything that they did, except for my contract. That's it. I didn't get to vote on what kind of publicity they put out, right? What kind of messaging they had. So to act like it's like a direct, like democratic, representation of like the flight attendants as a whole, it's not necessarily true, right? All right.
Do you not elect a general secretary or something, or
what's that?
Do you not elect a general secretary?
Well, we did for like our region. All right, but I didn't have a say in who like the head of the AFA was because a lot of different airlines made up the AFA, right? So it's kind of like I know like unions probably work very differently, in certain areas, but in some aspects, like Sprout said, I wasn't allowed to not be in the union, right? If I decided I didn't want to be in the union, well, I could kiss my job goodbye. So it's like I'm being forced into this, right? and they're not necessarily representing my values, right? And I'm not necessarily getting a say in it. You know what I mean? Like, I appreciate them being there for like my workers' protections and my pay and certain benefits and stuff, which is great, you know, like that. And like by putting in work rules with the company, so this way I'm not being used and abused. You know what I mean? Like there are very good things, but we have to take the good and like we have to recognize that there are some sort of negatives there too. You know,
Yeah,
so
I mean, a
Sorry.
lot of these things that you brought up, I think, were issues generally with like sometimes, I mean, obviously the collective agreement that's being made or something like that, right? So these are specific to certain unions. And yeah, I mean, we definitely see those issues. I know that there are unions who've found solutions to some of these problems, right? So for example, here in Ontario, where I'm at, some of the ministries, what they offered in terms of fixing, you know, if one of their workers has a political issue with the way their dues are being spent or something like that, they can put in a form, opt for a portion of their dues that doesn't go towards, you know, militating directly for their workers' rights or whatever. You know, any portion of their dues that would go towards action outside of that can be brought back to the worker, and then they can use that money to donate to any organization that's more in line with their politics. So these are like some solutions that can be brought in. So obviously, you know, there are definitely some ways to make unions better. But I think that's just a way to kind of, that's where the conversation should be going rather than, you know, should we have them at all or not?
of course, and that's kind of like the position I'm in, where it's like I want to point out these negatives and get them better, versus just doing away with them. You know what I mean? That like
Jeffrey, sorry. I was gonna say, would you support a democratic restructuring of the unions then to be more representative of the workers' needs?
Sure. You know, like if you were allowed to like vote on like every single thing, you know, that the union wanted to do or whatever, or, you know, obviously that's depending on how big the union is, that could be actually a really big issue. But like, yes, in short answer, yes. You know, I think like that would be perfectly fine, because then it's like, all right, then it's kind of being run basically how, you know, a country's run, right? Where it's like, you know, you vote on certain things and sometimes you get your way and sometimes you don't, you know? So like, and you can't really say anything about it if you know, actually, you know, I mean, if you're participating in the system, like, I don't know.
Don't go down the rabbit hole.
What rabbit hole?
People not
What
being
rabbit hole
okay
are
with-
you going down?
People not being okay with election results.
I mean, we could go down that rabbit hole because I think it's funny.
You know, I just want to say one thing about unions in general. I don't think that the question wasn't phrased whether or not that they're perfect. I don't think anyone's going to level that claim. I mean, obviously unions have their issues. Some unions are corrupt. We all know that. Some of them don't function as well as they should. Some of the people involved in certain unions take advantage of the people who are inside them. So it's not like it's a one-size-fits-all conversation. There's just, I think when you put it on average, it seems to be an overall better. Because, yeah, you mentioned the fact that, okay, people who are in unions, you know, well, they'll have to pay dues, so that money kind of gets like retracted a little bit for how much extra they're making. But that's also not taking into the fact that, again, like I mentioned before, people who are in unions, I think 94% of them have health insurance versus 67% of people who are outside of unions have health insurance. Now, when you have health insurance, that's considerably less money you have to pay if you have to go to the hospital for any reason. On top of the fact that people who are inside of unions also have sick pay, you know, usually because they have sick days. So that's less money out of your pocket that you would have to take if you have to take a day off for being sick, for instance. And you have overtime pay, bereavement. These are all things that people outside of unions don't normally have. And so when you take the full measure into it, the full like picture, then the actual rate of pay is even higher than it probably comes out to be. So I'm just going to say it is a little bit more of a complex picture than just like what is their take-home pay.
Well, yeah,
That's what today for full-time jobs is what. I'm not talking about contracting. I'm talking about being an actually employee. You're saying today that people don't have bereavement leave, people don't have vacation days out, full-time jobs specifically.
No, I didn't say that. I said that on average, union workers have higher rates of these things than non-union workers.
And a lot of the times,
It's been
shops
pretty-
that are outside of unions also get those benefits given to them because of the unions that exist in shops in their industries, like right next to them. Like for example, there were 2 steel mills just down the street that kind of operated. One was unionized, one wasn't, and the guys who worked at the non-unionized shop were really happy because they got all the benefits that the guys at the non-unionized or at the unionized shop fought for. But they didn't have to pay dues or anything like that. So, a lot of these benefits that you see in these non-unionized workplaces are gains that were gotten because of unionized workplaces.
So I'm not saying that unions haven't done any good. I'm not stating that at all. What I'm stating is that unions have they've outlived their usefulness. At this point in time, it's not useful for unions to continue to exist among common workplace.
I don't think that's true at all.
Unions.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Trix. I've been talking a lot.
Sorry. The support though that unions offer their workers, I think, is unparalleled in terms of like the resources that you get. So the legal time between 10-hour shifts at the moment, or even 12-hour shifts, is 8 hours. So I could work 12 to midnight, go home, and I could start 8 a.m. the next day for another 12 hours. If overnight my boss decided, hey, that's bullshit. I actually don't like that. It doesn't work for my business model. We're going to bring that down to 6 hours. Outside of just quitting your job, how would you dispute this? How would you be like, hey, that's illegal. That goes against like the labor laws of my country or my state. Outside of being like, well, I'm going to join a union and then use their legal resources to fight this and get my boss to stop cutting my breaks.
Wait, are you suggesting?
Yeah.
Is your suggestion is how would you fight that outside of a union? Is that your question?
Thing is, like, I think that the resources that union offer, like the everyday worker, I think, are priceless, especially with the whole like pandemic and people don't have expendable resources. Like people are barely making rent. I don't think people have like the time, money, or resources to be like, well, now that my boss has fucked me over, I'm gonna go grab a whole team of lawyers. I'm gonna check out all this legislation. I'm gonna take not only my boss but my whole company to court over this one little thing. Like people can't do that while also working a full-time job. Yeah, but
you sue them.
Most people, like, if they're working this job, they can't afford to go off and like hire a lawyer. And
most lawyers, when they do this kind of court case, take their profit from whatever you win from the court case.
That's not always
you
true.
You typically don't. It's most of the time true. And if you're talking to a lawyer that doesn't have that, then go find a lawyer that does. Most of the time, when you talk about workplace standards, the lawyer will actually take its profit from the court case, from the winnings of the court case, and you typically don't pay the lawyer. They just take their profit from the court case.
Yeah, but a lot of places don't do that because then it's like if they don't win, they don't get paid for any of their time. But what I'm saying is, like the average everyday Joe can't be like, oh, now that I'm working 12-hour shifts every day, I really have the expendable time to go out and search for a lawyer to help me win this. Like, if you're already part of a union, you literally, like I've done it before, you make one phone call and they're like, yeah, we have a whole team on the case. We're going to open up a thing. We're going to get it started and we'll contact you with updates. It's really, really easy. And I think that it makes getting help, like the accessibility of it, I think, is worth keeping unions around.
And for example,
unions don't actually do anything. Oh, sorry. I was gonna say unions don't actually do anything in terms of money. If they get like penalty rates, so if you work on like a Sunday on a public holiday, you get time and a half. That's not just the union members. That is the industry as a whole. Every single restaurant, every single like labor thing in the industry, they all get the same benefits. There's no difference in terms of like if you're in a union you get paid more.
Okay.
I was going to add to that by saying, add to that as well as saying that you get when you have sectoral unions as well, you then get union representation in your disciplinary procedures in your workplaces, right? So it minimizes, these kind of processes from going awry in the first place without having to go down the whole rigmarole of going through litigation, which for someone who's working however many hours a week and is a member of the working class and has all of these other things on their mind is something they really don't have to deal with, which why having it sorted by the union is just, it's well worth the, £8 a month I pay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's look at unions in real life. Let's look at unions as they exist, right? And again, I'm speaking about American unions, so I'm sorry, Trix and No Justice or anyone who lives up in Canada. I'll be referring to American unions in the American automobile industry, right? In the American automobile industry, you see layoffs, and these are quite consistent throughout time. You see bankruptcy. It's because the automobile union, the automobile shops, they're unionized, and they can't afford to continue that unionization, and eventually you see outsourcing. Like you've seen this time and time again, to where the United States has actually had to give these automobile companies money, that way they don't go bankrupt. Like you've noticed this, right? Or does anyone have another reason as to why they're going bankrupt versus they're unionized and the union is bankrupting the company?
Wait, you think that automobile industry was going bankrupt because they had a unionized workforce? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, 100%. Yes.
Okay, that seems.
That's why because
I mean,
because
that's one
it's
hell of a
actually
straw
cheap.
man
No,
argument.
it's actually cheaper. It's actually cheaper for the automobile industry to outsource, have someone else make it overseas, and then pay for shipping to the United States than it is to run a unionized shop inside the United States.
Okay.
Without a doubt.
I mean, that is true under the current legislation that was passed by the Trump administration, right? Yeah,
So we're losing
underneath
jobs,
those tax
right?
cuts, yeah, they did make it cheaper for companies to outsource products outside the U.S. That's absolutely true, but I don't think that's indicative of a unionized labor force. Because if that was the case, then why aren't all companies that have unionized labor forces going bankrupt? I mean, you can't just take one example and say, see this one example, see it didn't work out over here, so that means it's bad across the board. That's not a good argument.
I think he's.
I'm
Yeah,
saying
but
that
each single one of these industries, right, is going to be unique into itself. So he picked out the specific example of automobile industries, and while that did have a fair amount to do with trade agreements, as to how it ended up settling where it was at, what he is saying and arguing is that it is better for the corporation to go to another country, right, where they don't have to worry about, say, the same types of ideas and laws that are here in the United States with regard to unions over there, because that's not something that they have to worry about. And I think that it's highlighting, right, like the idea that as an American, it's important to understand that the same laws that we have for these things in place here is not in place in other places. And that's exactly how the corporations, when they're working overseas, look at this. And then that's where, like, you start to see some other things like that go on. So is that fair, Sprout?
yeah, then it ends up with Americans losing jobs. And the people who did work in the automobile industry are on unemployment, not sure what to do because the other automobile industries aren't hiring.
No, I understand what you're trying to say. I think the point that I'm trying to push back on is that just specifically saying that the only reason that a corporation would offshore jobs is due to the unionization of their workforce is just not factually true whatsoever. I mean,
You don't think so? You don't think it caused that?
I'm trying to make my point. I do say that a corporation's main point, the only thing they're really trying to accomplish here, is to make as much profit as humanly possible. And so why would a company try to offshore their jobs, offshore their equipment, so on and so forth? Because there's cheaper labor forces everywhere else in the world. And so if nothing else, you might be making my argument for me. Because the point of having a labor union is to protect the rights of workers. If corporations are willing to ship their jobs somewhere else, then they don't give a damn about their workers. They never did. They just care about making profit. So you need something in place to protect the workforce of the American people from corporations who don't actually care about their workforce. They care about their profit. And so if profit's the only thing that matters to these people, then someone needs to be in place to safeguard them. And so, yes, not every single labor union is great. And you're citing the automobile union. Obviously, maybe they didn't do their job correctly, but one union failing isn't an indictment of all labor unions. The same when we had conversations about the police, and you say that like, oh, because you have like a few bad police officers doesn't mean that all police officers are bad. You
I'm
can't.
against police unions too.
I'm
It's
just
all cool.
saying you can't use the idea that like if you find a few bad spots here and then the whole
I mean,
system's
do you want to talk about
corrupt.
police unions? You want to talk about police unions? We can talk about police unions.
We can, but that's not what I said. I was talking about the police in general. I wasn't talking about police unions. But I was just saying you can't.
Like the
you
few
can't,
bad apples analogy.
Yeah, the few bad apples
Do
analogy.
you want to talk about the VA union, the Veterans Assistance Union, and
Are
how
we
they
switching
failed?
subjects?
Like,
or
what
can I finish what I was
example?
saying?
What example do you want to go over? Because I offered an example, and you're like, this is one example, okay? You can't say that all unions fail because you chose one example. So give me an example, and we'll go over how they failed.
Okay, the NBA, the Players
The
Association.
NBA. Oh, you're
You
gonna
said give you one example. I gave you one example.
You're literally going to go to the union where people are making millions of dollars a year.
You said give you one example. It's not my fault. You chose a bad way to phrase it. Rephrase the question.
Well, it seems, I gotta be honest, it seems a bit far and away from, like, more towards the baseline worker, right, to bring up the example of the NBA, considering we were talking about automobiles and other industries, like steel mills was brought up earlier. These are more like to the ground jobs.
I gave him one example. I'm just saying.
I just
I didn't say it couldn't be the NBA.
I just find it funny that in order to prove unions work, they have to go as far out to say, yeah, these people make $50 million a year. That's why unions work, okay? Because of the NBA, because of the NFL. Look, unions are working. They're making hundreds of millions of dollars a year.
Let's be
and
fair for
there's
a
nothing
second.
you can say that goes against that.
Let's be fair for a second. Earlier, when you were having a hard time making a point, we all gave you about 20 minutes to collect yourself. So if you want to give me the same amount of time, I'll go do some Google searching of my own.
Feel free to do some Google searching.
Okay.
Feel free.
They'll be fair at that point.
All right.
I want to go for another
Try
example.
to keep
if you spare
try to
with
keep it to like
Sorry.
the working class, right? Not the $50 million LeBron James. I don't even know how much he makes. It's probably more than that. Let's leave LeBron James, NFL, like keep it to the main working class, right?
Okay.
Well, let's take a look
Desmond
at some. Let's take a look at an example for let's take this example, which is a good case study. Is Toys R Us in Sweden, right?
Okay,
So,
we can do
a
that.
Sweden-
Just a sec. Before we get too far away from Desmond, I want to kind of close this up. Nice, neat little package. Go back and listen to what I said at the beginning of the VOD.
Yes.
And this is where like labor unions might be a little bit more useful in actually trying to combat some of these laws, right? And actually pushing those things back down so that it does actually allow the American market to compete in that way, right? So that's where I was alluding to that earlier. Sorry, no justice. Go ahead.
Sorry, no, it's fine. Trying to finish off that point. I was going to say, in Sweden, Toys R Us were desperate to open up to be able to trade within Sweden. Right now, Sweden has 89% union coverage across sectoral bargaining. So, but Toys R Us have an international policy of never dealing with trade union organisation. And they were desperate. They litigated for 3, 4, 5 years, or whatever it was, to try and be able to not have to deal with the union. And then they collapsed and they started trading in Sweden with a unionised workforce against their international mandate that they would literally do nowhere else. So the idea that we're just going to lose all of our jobs if suddenly everywhere is unionised. 89% is sectoral bargains in Sweden. That's incredibly high compared to 6% of working people being under unions in the private sector in the United States. So I don't see that. Maybe there are certain industries where outsourcing is more likely to happen, but it's not like places with the high levels of unionisation just have a complete dearth of investment or a complete dearth of businesses for the working class to be able to join and still have higher wages. There is no minimum wage in Sweden, yet sectoral bargaining agreements are so strong, they get paid triple the federal minimum wage at a base standard for a cleaner, for example. Or the federal minimum wage as it is in the US, rather. So
Do you think this helped? Do you think this helped Toys R Us? Do you think that helped Toys R Us, or do you think that hurt Toys R Us?
I assume it helped them to want to open up trading within Sweden and increase their profits. They just weren't allowed to engage in as much labour exploitation and value extraction as they would otherwise have done had they not had to kowtow to the union sectoral bargaining agreement.
In America, almost every single Toys R Us, if not every single Toys R Us, closed. Just to bring a little bit.
Well,
Of
that's not because of unions, though.
No, they actually got.
We're talking about Toys
again.
R Us. They closed. Can you tell me why they closed? If it wasn't because of unions, can you tell me why they closed? Because it's about the same time.
I will do a sprightly
It wasn't
Google.
the same time. It was years apart, wasn't it?
Honestly, it's probably online shopping.
Yeah, Sprout. They actually just got bought by Macy's, and they're going to open 2 brick and mortar stores.
Oh yeah, they got bought out. I understand that. I understand they got bought out. But we're also talking about Toys R Us. We're not talking about Macy's. We're talking about prior to Macy's, correct?
Well, yeah, no, 100%. No,
Okay,
I was
so, yeah,
I
we'll
was
talk
just
about
adding
Twitter.
I was just adding like a little fun fact in there, like they're actually still trying to make another comeback in brick and mortar for some
They're
strange
still
reason.
fighting.
Yeah, they're fighting the good fight, but I don't know if it's gonna work out.
No, that's actually a big problem. A lot of American companies go overseas, and it's like, oh, actually, you can't exploit your workers. We have, because of unions, we have like states' rights, and we have like a full like country rights saying you can't treat your workers this way. You have to give them this many breaks. You have to pay them this much, and rather than dealing with that, I know a lot of like American companies just leave. They're like, actually, not worth it. We're too anti-union to even, and as a result, they lose profits because they just don't even want to try and open up like business overseas.
I mean, if they didn't go to Sweden, right? If they didn't go to Sweden and didn't do that, then that wouldn't have been an issue, correct? If they didn't try and open stores in Sweden.
What wouldn't have been an issue?
What we're talking about, right?
Yeah, like they only they only had to deal with the unions
Oh,
in
yeah.
Sweden.
Yeah, because American unions just like the amount of like you don't even hear about like union busting. Like I don't even hear about that like in my day-to-day in Australia, but like in America, union busting is like a massive thing. Like some people are incredibly and you know why people are anti-union? Because the company itself knows that they could, if they exploited their workers to hell and back, they don't care if their workers die on shift or if they pass out like while they're lifting the boxes. They don't care about that. If they could exploit their workers to hell and back, the amount of profit they would make, you see this with Amazon all the time. You'll
They
see this with
propagandize
Walmart.
about it super hard. Yeah, they I remember when
Yes.
was it in I forget the location it was with the Amazon organization where the ballot failed to bring about the organization of a union within that particular Amazon warehouse because Amazon went full hard on union busting against that and doing essentially agitprop against the idea of unionization to scare
Yeah.
people out. People thought they were going to lose their jobs if they tried to join the union, which obviously is nonsense. But they
And
thought
illegal.
that because of how propagandized they were too.
Yeah, like the whole idea of like playing videos of like, hey, if you're thinking about unionize, watch this video we made on it. That is fully just illegal in a lot of countries, and it blows my mind that union busting is such like a powerful force in America.
That's why there needs to be a Labour Party in the United States. There needs to be a party that is the political wing of the unions, because we can't remove the Taft-Hartley Act. We can't remove right to work. We can't influence the National Labour Relations Board unless there is a political wing of the union movement, which unfortunately the Democrats are not. The Democrats are still under the control of corporations. They may have some union representation, and whilst I am happy that Joe Biden is the first Democratic president in a very long time to be outspokenly pro-union, it's not good enough, and we're never going to be able to get to the point where we can have proper sectoral bargaining in the United States and have union busting being a thing of the past. We can't do that unless there is a political wing, within the federal government.
Yeah.
All right, so I do have an example here. So I have one example. You have to forgive me. I don't have the fastest fingers in the world, so I couldn't figure out 4,000 different examples of unions that seem to be working currently. But from what I have here, it looks like the National Nurses United Union seems to be a pretty good one. I couldn't find anything negative about them truly. It seems like they have an enrollment of around 150,000 nurses across the country. It looks like the average pay for a non-unionized nurse is around like $77K in America. The average pay for a nurse within this union is around 120,000. Also, on top of that, it seems as though that they have pensions for nurses that are within this union. And so that's not what I could come up with to answer your one question about, name one union that seems to be working out pretty well here. Again, if I can have a few more minutes, maybe I could find a few more, but it seems as though there are some unions out there doing a good job, doing the good work. And if you want to talk about whether or not these nurses are bankrupting their hospitals, not true whatsoever. I mean, if we go back to pre-pandemic time, 2019, hospital profits are at the highest margin they've ever been, ever. Literally ever.
Okay, is that because of COVID?
The point I'm trying to say is that obviously
is that because it's a current pandemic right now?
I'm saying
because
that
they're having.
I'm saying that their unionized workforce was not detracting from their profits, as was the previous point that you were trying to make. And so in this particular
but
case,
your entire point based off nurses was that they're making more money than they ever have. And
no, I said the hospitals
looking at that
make more
out,
money than they
looking,
ever had.
I'm sorry,
I said that-
hospitals are okay.
Yeah.
Hospitals are making more than they ever have.
Yes.
Looking at that through this lens that you're trying to push off is that it's fine, it's unionized, but they're making more than they ever have, without looking at that there's a global pandemic going around in which hospitals are extremely necessary and have a lot of in and outs about it. You're pointing at 20. So you said since 2019.
No,
you
I
said
said
since 2019. So
in
are you talking about
2019
2019 or 2021?
In 2019. I was going back before
Okay.
the pandemic. So before the
Okay, 'cause you said
pandemic,
since,
in 2019,
so-
I apologize. I meant in 2019, hospitals were receiving record profits at the time, and obviously their unionized workforces weren't detracted from their profits whatsoever. And plus, these unionized nurses seem to be making dramatically more money than their counterparts. So I did my job, everyone. I got the one thing that wasn't the MBA people, the one union that's doing good. Did my homework. Give me some clapping. Clapping? No?
Like, if you go outside of America, you will find a fucking plethora of unions that are doing incredible work and that haven't, like, ruined an industry. The RAF, FFWU, MIA, literally, I know that you guys are talking specifically about America, but unions work so well. There was a whole thing a few years back where a bunch of McDonald's locations in Australia there was this, the bosses were pretty much saying, hey, drinking water on shift, you can lose your job by doing that now. If you take a sip of water in the back room or literally at any point on while you're clocked on and it's not on your 5-minute break that you're allocated, you can get fired. And the government was like, and the unions were like, hey, that's fucked up. You should be allowed to drink water. I can, if you give me a minute, I can find dates for you. But they were like, sorry, I can't type and talk at the same time. They were like, yeah, this is fucked up. People were like passing out on shift, like, because they're working 8-9 hour shifts without any water. And unions fought for that. And now it is international across the board in all of retail and fast food workers, workers, regardless of whether or not you're in your union, you get rights to drink water on shift.
God forbid. Yeah.
Okay,
well,
so again, I'd like a date for that and see if it's actually a present day case. I feel like that's
Here we go.
much
10th
further
of
back
January 2019.
in America. No.
I found a date, but it wasn't an American date, so I don't think it counts.
not in Spraticus world.
Okay.
Did you say an
Or is it
American date?
Or is it the Spraticus world?
I didn't realize dates.
dates weird.
It's just
Yeah,
written differently.
No,
What do you mean
it was like
American date.
I'm saying I found a date, but because my example wasn't American, I don't think that Spraticus is going to take it as valid.
Is it Spraticus or is it the Spraticus?
Why would
I
it
need to know
matter
these
who you're
things.
dating?
Whichever one.
Just
doesn't
because they're
matter.
American, that's
Oh,
all.
okay.
I would never date an American. They're not propaganda.
Somebody's got to make some people laugh around here. The fucking tension in the room is fucking palpable, right?
Why
So,
are you
like-
standing? That's my question.
Because he's adding tension to the room.
I'm just sitting here trying to keep it chill,
You're
right?
not sitting though, you're standing.
Is that making everybody nervous?
I'm just wondering.
I'm not nervous.
I
Oh,
mean,
okay.
it's a little intimidating, CTV. You know, like your strong, presence. You know, like
Very dominant.
you know, you're bringing like the alpha wolf out. You know, I feel it.
I feel like you need a pipe, though. I mean, if you just add a pipe to your look, it'll be complete. A wooden one.
I don't think. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, we got the vape. I mean, it's the cloud, right? You
Yeah,
see
it
the
does-
cloud.
Desmond, something you
Yeah.
said earlier though about like in regards to like insurance, how like
Yeah.
unionized people are more insured than non-unionized. Well,
Yeah.
like aren't like a lot of like the non-unionized people, right, working for smaller businesses, and I believe corporations and businesses that are of a certain size have to offer health insurance to their employees. I believe it's only like 25 people too. I could be wrong on that number, but I believe
You're on the right
once
track.
they reach a once they reach a certain size, they have to offer an option of health insurance, right?
No, you're on the right track. I think the only issue with the point you're trying to make right now is the fact that so many companies have gone out of their way to classify their employees as independent contractors. And when you have that happening, you have so many people falling through the cracks of, being able to even to be offered health insurance in the first place. So I see what you're trying to say. But typically, again, if you were inside of a union, they wouldn't be pulling that bullshit with you where it's just like, oh, well, actually, you're an independent contractor, so we don't have to offer you any benefits. Haha.
Oh, yeah, you're talking about like...
So specifically...
Real quick, one thing. Independent thought, when you're speaking, your mic is doing some weird noises. Sorry.
I don't know if it's him or Sprout, because I know when I'm looking at the Discord, it looks like Sprouts is making some noise too.
I turned my gain down. Am I still making noise?
A little bit when you're not talking.
Can you hear it right now? Is it making any noise right now?
Nah, not right now.
Sprout, specifically Sprout, probably go into Discord and turn noise suppression on. That way, Discord can do a little bit more to help out, like say whenever you're not talking, because it does start making the sound whenever you're not talking. I sent you a DM and asked.
It keeps disabled. Here we go. Let's try this. It's on, so let's see if that works.
IT guru CTV.
Well, it was
Man
turned
of many
off.
hats.
So... Turn it off and on again.
It's true, right? You see, I got this Navy hat.
Let me try turn it off and on again.
We just turn unions off and on again.
Fix it. Fix everything.
Maybe they would stop destroying
capitalism off and on again.
But either way,
we got this hat, right?
All right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we can talk
man,
about the
hat.
nursing union. We can talk about the nursing union. There's a
before
couple
we go,
issues that I've
is the
found.
sound still messed up, Geek?
Yeah, no, it's good.
Oh, okay, good.
I was going to make one quick point, which was around what we were just previously talking about regarding independent contractors, as well as obviously insurance benefits and things like that too. Now, I want to make the point again, bring back to political organisation with as a union movement is really really important. For example, over here in the UK, the unions were lobbying the government to be able to make it so that some independent contractors had to be reclassified as general workers and be entitled to a bunch of benefits that would come with that through public law. So, for example, Uber drivers are now legally listed as being employees of Uber rather than independent contractors, guaranteeing them holiday pay, because in this country, the unions lobbied hard enough so that we have guaranteed holiday pay by the state. Employers have to offer us 28 days of paid holiday every year. You get none of that in the United States, and on average, you only get 10. How embarrassing!
Well,
you don't get any paid sick pay, but federally, you don't get any paid maternity leave guaranteed. What on earth is this? What neoliberalism themed amusement park is this?
I want to speak to that really quick.
Typically,
I think that the reason why we don't have that in America is because our politicians are trying to save us from the dreaded socialism, because we've been told that if we have things like that in America, then we'll collapse into like a banana republic like the UK, because obviously you have a fiat currency. This is the reason. So we're being protected over here from these things. So we don't want any of your, employee protection. That's all kind of communism that we're too afraid of.
Nice straw man.
Do you like it? I took a while to draw that one.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's a good straw man.
That reminds me of the straw man symposium.
I want Sprout to hear Sprout because he's been waiting to talk for a while.
But the nursing union, I found a couple issues with. Because you wanted to bring up the nursing union, I looked into it, and here's a couple issues that I personally found. If you're in the nursing union, you must go on strike if the union declares this a need. I would hate to see the union declare a need for a strike, especially right now. For nurses, that'd be awful. Performance is secondary to seniority with a nursing labor union. So seniority gets first dibs on getting the promotion. Whether or not they're actually good at their job doesn't matter because performance is secondary to seniority. So then dues are required condition for working with the union, the nursing union. And you have less control over your final schedule. So if you wanted to change your shift or reduce your hours, you have less control over that just by being with the nursing union.
I will concede that some of those things are not that great, but I will combat them with saying a couple things. First of all, not every job gives you the option to change your schedule anyway. I mean, there's some jobs that are basically just like, this is your schedule, take it or leave it. It's a contract of adhesion, more or less. And so to say that that's just like a thing that's specific to this union, not exactly that fair. Dues are required
you get extra less control.
Extra less control?
Union. Yeah, so you get less control than someone who's someone who's not unionized would have.
I mean, I'll come back to that in a second. I would also say that dues are required for every union, so that's just kind of a part of the deal. But honestly, if you're telling me that someone in that union is getting paid $50,000 a year more on average than the person outside of that union, I'll take the dues. As far as the strike thing is concerned, that would be uncomfortable if they forced you to strike, but I don't see any strikes that have ever happened underneath this union, so I guess it's not really a
So
factor.
as long as it hasn't happened yet, it's not an issue.
Well, I mean, issues aren't issues until they happen.
No, there could be issues before they happen. You can see, and I work in information security, right? So I work with cybersecurity. You can see an issue before someone attacks the issue. You can see an issue before you're attacked, and then you can fix the issue.
Right. I understand.
I don't need to wait till my system's attacked to go, oh my, that would cause a problem. Let's go ahead and fix that before anyone else realizes that's there and tries to attack me. So you saying that it's not an issue because it hasn't happened yet is a little bit disingenuous. It's either an issue or it's not. But it's not. It can't not be an issue because it hasn't happened yet.
Okay, let me rephrase my statement then. It is an issue, but it's not an issue that I think about because it's not that common. The same way I don't really think about things that only happen once every 100 or 1,000 or 1,000,000 years.
And the thing is, even then, like, industrial action is usually only a last resort. And anyway, even the threat of industrial action, showing solidarity and showing worker power within organisation and collective bargaining, is usually enough to change policy anyway. To even just threaten the strike, especially when you have something something is so necessary and something so key as obviously the nursing profession and things like that. They know they can't really get away with letting the workforce strike by not ceding to demands. So usually just the threat of a strike in these instances is enough to be able to have the leeway within against the employer.
Okay. So I mean, one of the major issues I have is being left out of the conversation is the issue that performance is secondary to seniority inside of the nursing labor union. So if you perform extremely well, but there's someone who's been there longer than you, then good luck on getting the promotion. You have to have the seniority, and then the performance takes into place. So you're talking about you could have nurses that aren't extremely good at their job, but they've been there for a while, so they get the promotion instead of you. Leads up to a bad management scale.
I mean, truthfully,
that's the case in a unionized job. But if you look at a non-unionized job, then what's going on is that regardless, if the management just likes you better, you can get pulled up. There's nepotism that happens. This is what that kind of thing is in place to safeguard against, is so that there's no favoritism, no nepotism, where some guy can just pull up his nephew and make him top of the ranks of the company without him having ever worked at the company a day in his life.
Yeah, but there's negatives to both, though. Like, there's negatives to both, right? It's which negative do you want to live with? Do you want to live with, like, do you want to live with never, like, not necessarily never, but making it next to impossible to promote someone who is doing a really, really good job just because they're not senior? Or do you want to risk, I'm going to hire my son and make him the CFO of my company? You know what I mean? Like which do you want to risk? And I think for like a better business decision would be to allow promotions based on
And unless I'm wrong,
like the way that you're like the quality of your work, right? And risk, because I would hope that I wouldn't make a horrible decision and promote my son to the CFO of my company because it's a bad business decision.
And unless I'm wrong, unions wouldn't protect against that. Unless I'm wrong, unions would not protect against you hiring your son as your CFO. I could be incorrect, but I'm gonna need to see something that says the union would protect against it.
It depends on the contract.
Sorry, I want to let Trick Switch answer, and after that, I think we'll go into closing statement. So yeah, go ahead.
I hate this point because there is nothing in the whole world that would protect against this. Because promotions and stuff, none of that is protected under unions because it's just not like I don't know a single union that has stuff in place for this because as far as I'm aware, in like every single workplace, you're gonna have that shitty boss who's like, hey, I know you're really good at what you do, but my best mate, he just joined and I want to spend more time with him, so I'm going to promote him to be assistant manager instead. Like, promotions are such like a case-by-case thing that there is no way to like make laws against it or anything like that because someone could easily be like, oh, well, he does better work than you. And even if that's completely false, it's their opinion technically as the owner of the company being like, oh yeah, I just think his energy is a bit better. He's a bit of a team player. He has more like drive. All of this is really fucking subjective and
unions. I mean, unions do that though. Unions do talk about promotions. They do talk about wages, and productivity is not considered one of the big talking points when you talk about who gets a raise, who gets the promotion. It's seniority, not productivity, not your skill. None of that is really taken into effect. It's who's been there the longest, so who gets the promotion. It's all about seniority.
Do you have any example? I've never heard of unions doing this. Do you have any examples?
The nursing labor union.
Okay.
In America.
Trix, I can give you an example that I actually experienced, right? Where, like, when I was part of the IFA, right, the more senior you are, the more guarantee you have in picking your exact schedule. So it's not necessarily like promotion in a way, but it gives you added benefits just because that you're more senior. So it's not necessarily like the promotion structure, but me, when I was like extremely junior, I was on call 24/7, and I had, it didn't matter how good of a job I did, I could, be the best little flight attendant in the world, right, and never be late, 100% safety record, everything. But you know what? Just because of my seniority, I'm stuck on being on call 24/7, even if like my work and my punctuality and everything else might have allowed me to, maybe set my own schedule.
Was that like a company, like...
no, it was like contract. It was a union contract.
Right. So the union put it... That just blows my mind.
Yeah, so like I think that kind of goes along the line with like the promotion thing. It's not like exactly equivalent, but just like a example I know a lot about.
All right. And with that being said, I think we're going to go into closing statement, and the noise definitely comes from you, Sprout.
I don't know what it is. I'll figure it out. I don't know what it is. I don't see it on my microphone. And
I'm seeing it, dude.
Okay.
It's there.
Like
it's there.
nice.
You'll figure it out. No worries.
All right. Let's go. Sorry. Before going into closing statement, CTV, anything to add? Anything to say?
Look, this is going to be your closing statements, right, to the topic. When we get done with that, we're going to go into the last bit that's going to be the most fun part about this thing, okay? So I want to turn those frowns upside down. Let's get through these closing statements, get through with the topic, and then we're going to have some fun for a minute, okay? All right, cool.
All right. With that being said, I'm going to throw it to Splunker.
Howdy, yeah, I've been quiet here, but I was more so more on the freedom and voluntarism side of things. So I think it was good for me to listen, but I have not been swayed against or on any other side other than the stance I've taken is that I think unions can be can have bad side effects. We can unions can be done in or they can have poor stipulations, and there can be downsides to them. But instead of thinking of it in a manner as such that we should get rid of them, we've outlived its life. It's more so to look at some of the problems and try to ameliorate them, to fix them, and to make these union structures better, because I think they do They do benefit the workers when done properly, and it can be done in a way that's not proper, where it fucks with the employers. So I've not been swayed on any other side. I'm sticking with my opinion there.
All right. Yeah, I'm going to phrase to no justice.
But yeah, I would just reiterate a lot of stuff I said already, which I think that we should be looking at changing the way we think about unions in the United States, away from individual enterprise unions towards sectoral bargaining. We need to support political candidates who are expressly pro-union, because one of the things holding us back towards creating a better union environment in the United States is the Taft-Hartley Act, at-will employment clauses within states, and these need to be be banned federally, as far as I'm concerned. And then there needs to, at that point, be more union-based political activism within the political system. So by repealing the Taft-Hartley Act, you'd have unions be able to contribute to political candidates, and therefore we'd see more worker representation within the political system.
All right, I'm going to phrase to Sprouticus.
Okay, hopefully it's not still there. I think I fixed it, but hopefully it's not still there.
It's okay for now.
It's still there?
It's in the background. We can hear you, so it's fine.
It's okay for now. It's okay for now, bro. Just go.
Okay. So I stick with my position. I think that unions have outlived what they were meant to do. I think they've moved on to what they deem bigger and better things. They're no longer what they were intended for, and they, like I said before, they act as a monopoly. They cause inflation, cause layoffs, cause bankruptcy, and eventually cause outsourcing. You can see this throughout many labor unions. Maybe you'll be able to find one or two that don't fit that, but amongst most labor unions, you will see this general basis of ideas that these things happen. And so I really haven't been disproven, besides maybe the NBA and NFL, where you talk about people making hundreds of millions of dollars a year. So I stick to my original statement, and I don't think really any of that has been disproven.
All right, I'm going to phrase to Desmond.
I thought we were going in a row. Okay. Well, I will start by reiterating my statement a little bit. I think that unions have not outlived their usefulness whatsoever. I will concede that Sprouticus made some good points. I hope that I did not offend you with my aggressive attacking of your positions. But I will say that, currently there are coal miners who are on strike down in Alabama as well. And they were currently also demonstrating in front of BlackRock in New York. And I think that people like that are probably very thankful right now that they have a union who will give them strike pay while they're actually striking to get better conditions and better pay from their companies, which is one example of many about how unions are still very useful in today's day and age. And while I was not able to advocate for every single union in America, I will say that just one or two examples doesn't discount my point either. And so since you weren't able to disprove my point either, I guess we'll just call it a draw for today. But I will say, closing out, that once again, it does appear that people who are in unions have better pay, better conditions across the board than people who are not in labor unions. And so if the goal of a labor union is to collectively bargain with a company so that its workforce can have better conditions, they are in fact doing that, and that is their use. So obviously they are still useful.
If you think that was aggressive, wait till you get to an actual Hippy Dippy.
Oh, I can go higher. Don't worry.
All right, I'm going to pray to Trick Switch.
Closing statement. I love unions. Big fan. Big love. Unions are the reason why I get penalty rates. They are the reason why I get my 30-minute allocated break every time I work a shift longer than 5 hours. And then I get another extra break after 7 hours. Like, literally every single rights that I have as a worker, I owe to my union. It's completely free as well. It's tax deductible. I see no downside. It has done nothing but benefit me, and I encourage every worker to join their local union.
All right. I'm going to pray to Aldred and Suck.
So, in general, unions are good. I think that there's a lot of things that we can do to make them better. Better for the companies and better for the workers. At the same time, kind of, even it out and take the centrist position like I tend to do, and everyone hates me. You know, like, I think there are legitimate issues with certain unions in regards to, you know, like Sprout brought up with seniority. You know, that's a huge issue if you're if you're giving certain benefits solely based on seniority, based on your union contract. That's an issue. Or being forced to join the union, right? Just if you want a certain job, right? I don't think you should be forced to. Like, I think you should be able to forfeit your right to be represented by the union, but still be able to have the job. You know, I don't understand why you can't do that. You know, because basically you just wouldn't have the union representing you when you go in for disciplinary actions or whatever. You know, I don't see why that's an issue. But in regards to pay and, you know, limits on hours or, you know, breaks and stuff, you know, like, I think that's a good thing. So I don't know. Like, there's good and bad. Reform it. Don't abolish it. And yeah, that's kind of where I stand.
All right, I'm going to throw it to Chancellor Flurry.
Okay. Sure. So for myself, I mean, I think I'm going to stick by what in my opening statement. You know, there are a lot of benefits that come about with unions: greater healthcare, more sick days, more paid days off, more pay for the employees. I think a lot of the problems that we've pointed out today can largely be fixed based on like collective agreement or more like a more democratic process in terms of the way that we do unions. Or even more democratic process in the workplace. If you want to fix outsourcing these kinds of things, democratizing the workplace is a pretty great idea. In Canada here, and I'm sure in Australia and England or wherever else people are from, got all sorts of great unions. I can name a few, like the Public Employees Union here, the United Steelworkers Union, the Laborers Union. They all do great work with people who are generally considered a lot of times, you know, even independent contractors in some scenarios. And they're fairly well represented when it comes to dealing with their management or any place of employee where they go. So, yeah, I think they've long, they're anything but outlived themselves. I think we need more labor power, if anything. So, yeah, that's where I'll end it.
All right, and last but not least, CTV.
Well, are y'all having fun? Are you having fun?
Yeah.
That's what we want to fucking know.
Yes.
Are you having
So
fun?
having fun, CTV.
Fucking right. Okay, so Danabo's telling me this next topic is supposed to be fun, right? So
Okay,
if it's
good.
fun, Danabo, if it's fun, then we're going to have fun.
There you go.
If it's not, we're going to go on a hunt for Danabo. Okay?
Exactly.
All right.
There we go.
Danabo.
Either
All
way,
right,
we're having
cool.
fun.
That's right. All right, and yeah, that's all I had to say about it. I said what I needed to say.
All right. Perfect. With that being said, let's jump into the next topic. But before that, I just want to thank everyone for being here. Really appreciate it. So please, everyone, in everyone's chat, yeah, go follow our panelists. If you like their take and everything, follow doesn't cost anything, and yeah, it always helps. So yeah. With that, for the next topic, I'm bringing an expert because you know it's good to have like the science and everything ready.
A surprise panelist.
How are you doing, Frames?
Is he an Eagles fan?
Muted?
You're
He
muted
sounds
in
brilliant.
Discord.
He sounds brilliant.
Muted.
Yo,
Another
we got
Eagles
3
fan.
Eagles fans up in here.
Hey.
Let's go. Go Birds.
You're still muted,
Wait.
Frames.
He'll figure it out. He's an Eagles fan. He'll figure it out.
On Discord.
Yeah,
Wait.
Hey.
How are you doing, Frames?
I'm doing great. How are you guys doing?
Good, man. The Eagles won today.
Hell yeah, they did. Jalen Hurts looked great.
Yeah, he did.
Ah,
I don't feel left out of this conversation at all.
don't know what
Yeah,
that is.
same.
So yeah.
Football.
Anyway, yeah, let's jump into the next topic, which is a question that has divided in humanity since the dawn of time. What is a better dessert, cake or ice cream?
Yeah. Also, I love that I get brought in for the food topics. You know, that's how I keep this like healthy frame.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm what they point to whenever they're looking for perfection. So,
You're a connoisseur.
This is a trick
yeah,
question. by the way.
absolutely. Also, the last topic was great too. By the way, I wish I could have gotten in on that one, but next time.
Yeah. All right. So for that topic, let's go into let's go with the like short opening statement, and we'll start by trick switch.
Yeah, my answer's simple. Ice cream. We don't eat cake in my household, so every year for everyone's birthdays, we get ice cream cakes, which is just massive blocks of ice cream that you cut in like little slices. Ice cream cakes are superior.
All right. I'm going to throw it to Frames.
Yeah, so I'm gonna have to go with ice cream as well. Don't get me wrong, there haven't been too many cakes that I've turned down, but I feel like the versatility of ice cream, as Trix was just saying, ice cream cake. Yeah, I don't know how you could go with cake on this one.
Yeah, but is ice cream cake ice cream?
Ice cream
or
cake is a cake.
Oh, I thought the conversation was what's better, ice cream or cake? No, ice cream cake is not cake. I think it's wild.
You can't.
Oh,
No, you can't
it's
do both.
not. But I'm saying instead of having cake, have ice cream.
All right. Yeah.
Wait, what's the
I'm going
topic? Just so I'm done.
Ice cream versus cake. That's the topic.
Yeah.
Okay.
All I know is motherfuckers making me hungry now.
All right. I'm going to throw it to
It might be
Sprouticus.
all that weed.
All right, Sprouticus. Go ahead. What's your take on this?
It's definitely cake. There's not really an argument against it. It's definitely cake. And it's not at all because I grew up lactose intolerant and still kind of am. That has nothing to do with this conversation, but it is definitely cake. So it's got to have the good icing though. And don't buy like the crappy icing. Like, oh, I just bought this at Meijer. No, you got to have the good icing. The cake. It's got to taste amazing. So, but there's all kinds of different cakes, right? You can get strawberry cake, you can get vanilla cake, chocolate cake. You can get cake with funfetti inside of it, right? And so it's the argument is definitely cake, and cake will fill you up as well. Fashion ice cream will. So.
I'm supposed to be quiet during people's like intro thing, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll shut up then. Hold on. Let me take notes. This is important.
This is why we're bringing experts. All right. I'm going to throw it to No Justice.
Yeah, so absolutely has to be cake on this one. It is easier to store. It lasts for longer. You don't have to have it you don't waste a bunch of energy storing it in a freezer. And I agree, it fills you up with nicely as well. And that's probably the main reason I'm brown. Would a brownie count as a cake? I don't even know, but I love brownies. I'm just gonna.
Technically, a brownie is a cookie. It's a bar cookie.
It's like colloidal. That doesn't seem very cookie-ish to me.
Look, this is why this is why Freems is here, right? It's obvious. Anybody looking at him, he's the resident expert.
Dessert memes.
Right?
Yeah.
Freems knows his desserts. Respect.
You know what? I don't think we're going to go through opening statement. Everyone will disagree with each other. So I'm opening it like right here. You can
Look, so
engage.
it's obvious from the start.
man.
It's so obvious that cake takes the cake.
That's
Right?
There you go.
From the
Yeah,
fucking
wow.
start.
Easy.
And look, and
No.
here's the reality. Look,
No shot,
Sprouticus. Sprouticus, you're sitting here talking about, right, like this, I don't know, it seemed like a really, really hoity-toity cake. Like, it was like up here, you know what I mean? But you know what? Like, I have a real appreciation for just some Pillsbury motherfucking mix and the Pillsbury strawberry fucking frosting, right? Not the whip though. Don't get that whip shit.
That's what I'm
right?
saying. The whip shit's
frosting.
the bad shit. The whip
Yeah,
shit's
the whip
bad
shit. Fuck the whip shit, right?
All right,
Yeah.
Trix. I'm coming to your defense here. All right, I choose ice cream. All right, in a big way.
Yeah.
And you guys saying that cake fills you up is like a good thing. I don't know why you want dessert to fill you up, right? You just want to keep eating it because it tastes so good, right? So like that just it doesn't help your argument at all.
That's got some real health effects. That's got some real health effects. If you just keep eating it and never get full, it's got some real health effects there.
Sure.
We're not talking about health effects. We're talking about deliciousness.
You can't have
Nobody
ice cream.
can hear any.
Okay. Rule number one. Rule number one. First of all, we're losing every time that everyone is talking like over each other. We're losing precious information. So please, this is a serious topic. I would ask you to ask her.
Very
I didn't get my
serious.
opening
Big-
I'm going to
so
play two
serious.
frames, and after that, trick switch.
All right, I
Friends,
wanted
go
to.
ahead.
This is like some of the things that were said earlier. Literally everything that what's his name, Sprouticus or whatever. Like they have strawberry, they have vanilla, they have this. That's the same for ice cream. That's not like a fucking like for or against anything. Also, if you don't have a freezer, of course, cake will store longer. But I mean, it's 2021. Most people have a freezer. Ice cream stores longer.
Wow,
a cake
that's
will go
elitist.
bad.
Elitist like a motherfucker.
Well, I'm an elitist motherfucker when it comes to cake and ice cream. I will never deny that. So yeah, I just feel like none of those points made any sense. Also, I'm also lactose intolerant, and I will still fuck up some ice cream. Now, if there was something in cake where I was like, "Oh, that's gonna make me poop weird," I probably wouldn't eat it. But I will struggle. I don't care if it gives me the shits for 3 days. I will eat some ice cream. Anyways.
See, my thing is, cake is like a by itself thing. You have a cake. Like, okay, a cake on a plate, boring. Ice cream, though, has the range. You could put ice cream with, like, strawberries. You could have it with brownies. You could have it with... Literally, you could have it in, like, drinks. You could have it Baileys and ice cream. Incredible.
Yeah.
The range. Cake, though, you wouldn't put cake in a drink. You wouldn't put cake with, like,
You ever hear rum
the
cake?
shit.
I would
No,
put Baileys on
that-
cake. Yeah, I would absolutely put
You
Baileys on cake.
drench that.
Put
First of all-
strawberries on cake. Yeah.
You know how much
like,
rum cake?
And so here's the thing with cake, right? You're not gonna eat ice cream for breakfast, right? But you're gonna
Yes.
have a pancake. You're gonna have a pancake, right? That's
Oh,
cake.
no.
That's saying cake on a plate.
Okay.
Come on, that's
Come
definitely
on.
cake.
You're
All
not.
right, so
Okay.
you have
No,
a
it is
pancake. You can
not.
put
You
syrup
have
on it.
Because then rice
So
cakes are
Cake,
cake.
You have
cake is
ice
extremely versatile. Cake is extremely versatile, and you can have cake whenever you want to have cake. You're not gonna
That's like
wake up
saying
and be
lasagna
like, yeah,
is a
for
cake.
breakfast. For breakfast, I'm gonna have 2 scoops of ice cream, and I'll be good till lunch. No, you get a nice cake, put some syrup on it, and then you eat that up, and then you're good until lunch.
You
Hold
also
on, what's
put
wrong with
ice
having
cream
ice
on
cream for
pancakes.
breakfast?
Hold
Hold
on,
on a
I got,
second.
I'm
This
getting
is
a
some of the-
hold on. I got
sorry,
a
go
call
ahead.
coming in. I got a call coming in. It's the fucking Mighty Ducks, right? Remember that one kid, right? Sprouticus, model kid for the cake eater. Just made a good argument.
I want to say this. Whenever we're talking about like cake or ice cream, like how dare you use the example of like this will sustain me longer? What the fuck does that matter? Like no one's
Wrong.
eating like
Wrong. I just want to let you know you're wrong. Okay. Ask my friends. They all know. They all know cake is better. They've all had cake. They've all had ice cream. They'll all tell you cake is better. 100%. I make the best cakes. No one's
know-
had a cake as good as me. Okay.
I don't
Pancake is
know.
not a cake.
I don't know if you
All right.
know me or not, but using Donald Trump as your example isn't going to win me over. I'm sorry.
If anything, I hate it more. Incredible.
You know, we're leaving out
Because
one
you're
really
wrong.
important
That's
thing.
because you're wrong.
What do you mean? What do you mean Donald Trump is a bad example? I mean, seriously, guys. All you
That
really
Donald
gotta
Duck?
do, all you really gotta do is just take that big old piece of cake, just put it in your mouth, and it'll taste so good. So good.
Disgusting.
Okay. I don't know what this panel has devolved into, but this is
Can I add
serious,
something?
damn it.
We're leaving
Let's
out a
see
very
what comes
important
in.
There he is.
Can I add
Right,
something else real quick? I want to add this real
wait.
quick. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry, I don't want to like.
I just want to throw it to Desmond. Guys,
Go ahead,
being
Desmond.
patient.
I've talked enough. Go ahead.
I was going to say, we're leaving out a very important cake here. I'm not even on team cake, but it has to be mentioned. The cheesecake is the best cake if we're going to have any discussion whatsoever. So, as far as cheesecakes are concerned, I think all cheesecakes rival all ice cream at least.
I think cheesecake is the most overrated dessert that there is.
That's entirely false.
Dreams, you're doing
The tiramisu
so well.
is the most overrated
No,
I
dessert
agree. I
ever.
agree with that.
Tricks, you disagreeing with me is. I think it's more of a down for you than it is for me, honestly. So.
All right, but can I get a show of hands on who thinks a pancake is actually a cake?
No.
Like this has me really bothering me.
No.
It's a fried cake.
All right.
It's a fried
Do you
cake.
think lasagna
Call it
is a
something
cake?
else if you don't think it's a fucking cake.
It's a fried cake.
It's
I mean,
bread.
technically, pancake is a cake. That doesn't mean shit to me, though.
Yeah, and just to be clear, a cheesecake is actually a custard, not a cake.
No, it's technically a tart.
No, it's not.
It's a tart.
Listen, if a pancake's a cake, a cheesecake is a cake. I'm just saying.
You don't.
I never thought I would see right wingers so caught up on labels.
Yeah,
I'm loving it.
Now, what about a crab cake? Like, is that considered a cake?
I mean, if a pancake's a cake. I mean, we've brought the level down so far.
Fish cake.
Right? Like anything that has the word cake in it, right, is now a cake.
No,
Why
right?
would we
no,
call
it's
it
not.
cake
It's
otherwise?
Is that
not even
expandable?
just because it's got the label cake on it, right? A pancake is literally just the same thing as cake batter. You just fry it. You literally just fry it into a circle shape, and then you put syrup on it. That's why the comedians have had jokes for years saying, no, you can't have cake for breakfast. You will have fried cake with syrup on it, okay? Because it is still a cake. And at that point, I guess a waffle would also be a cake. So
like, what? I'm
Not
so
a cake.
confused of why we're talking about pancakes.
because a pancake is a cake.
No.
I know, but what
You
if
make,
that is? I don't
you
think
make
that's
a cake with dough, not batter.
No,
Yeah,
you
but
make a cake with batter. What do you mean?
You make a cake
Yeah.
with batter.
Look,
You make
Sprout,
a cake with batter. You do not use dough.
wait a second. Hold on.
Bread with dough.
Hold on. I gotta ask this question, right? Because like, are we just simply arguing cake, as in like just the cake with no frosting, or are we talking about cake with frosting? And if we're doing that, then shouldn't we also be allowing pancake, as in cake with whatever syrup, right? Or whatever, because this is where there could be a way to bridge this gap through whipped cream. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, some strawberries, some whipped cream.
Yeah.
You can put
add a
whipped
couple
cream on
blueberries
some
on
stuff.
there.
You might,
Yeah.
You can put whipped cream on your ice cream. You know what I'm? So whipped cream. I mean, you can put whipped cream on a few other things. As a movie from the 1990s named Varsity Blues.
Ice cream.
Right, we'll show you. But I'm just saying, whipped cream.
I have whipped cream in my butthole right now.
Okay.
All right, panel's over. We're done.
Okay, I want to say this though, real quick.
Jesus, Freems, come on, man!
That's why
It's making it to the intro.
Innuendo, bro.
That's definitely making it to the intro. If I don't see that in the intro, I'm going to go on strike. Okay.
I don't. Okay, here's the thing. This is why I keep talking about the pancake thing. Pancakes are not better than ice cream. We can all agree on that, right?
Depends on the ice
Yes.
cream.
No, yeah, I would agree on that.
Ice cream.
Depends
So why
on
the
the ice
fuck are we
cream.
talking about pancakes? Like, I don't.
It depends
I
on the
don't-
pancake.
variety
It
of
depends
cakes.
on the ice cream. I'm just going to be honest with you.
Because cake has more. Cake can be more versatile than ice cream can.
Yes, and whoever argued that ice cream cake is not a cake again,
Yeah, it's a cake.
that's just wrong. And
Ice
the fact that
cream
you
is not a
chose
cake.
ice cream cake to choose your favorite ice cream just shows how cake is superior to ice cream.
Right, that's actually
Yeah,
why I said
ice
this was
cream
a
and
trick
cake form
question
is
to begin
better.
with. This is a trick
Ice
question.
cream cake is not a cake. I'm sorry. It's just
Ice cream
not.
cake is a cake.
Ice cream cake
Well,
is
now
a
we
cake.
got liars in the room, and I don't appreciate liars.
Right.
Ice cream cake.
I think it
the
could be a
best.
cake with ice cream on it, but like let's say like the ice cream cake you get from Dairy Queen.
Yeah,
Like,
that shit's cake.
That's not. No, that shit's
So
ice
what
cream.
is it?
There's
Is
no
it
cake
ice
in
cream?
it.
Is it straight up ice cream, or is it ice
You
cream
guys-
pie?
It's
What
just
is it?
It's just ice cream.
There's no
Fine.
difference between an ice
The
cream
shape
cake
of a
and
cake.
straight up ice cream, is what you're saying.
That's not
I
true.
feel
Wait,
like we're not
so that
discussing
was
So
hold on.
Freems, if I work at Dairy Queen, you come in and you ask for an ice cream cake, and I just I go to the ice cream, I go to the vanilla ice cream, and I just grab a bucket, fill it, about maybe 2, 3, maybe 4 inches full of ice cream, and hand it to you. Say, here's your ice cream cake. There's no difference between me handing you that and what you were expecting to receive.
I feel like the quality of these this panel is kind of low right now after hearing that fucking argument. No, because like it's an ice cream cake is just a super frozen ice cream in the shape of a cake.
No, it's got layers, man. You put like that. You put like a crust on it. All
Granola
kinds of
bar
stuff, dude.
crust.
There's-
Oh, that's
It's got
Like
the
a Dairy
cookies on the
Queen.
It's
bottom.
Neapolitan ice
literally-
cream cake.
No,
Yes.
it's not.
I mean,
No,
Sasha know what I'm
no,
talking
no,
about. They got ice cream cake
no.
stores around Philly. They're all over the place.
Yes, okay.
Trust me,
Just
I've
because
made
it has
ice cream cake, man. It's a cake.
Wait, I feel
Oh
like we're not
god,
discussing
are you doing
recipes
like
enough.
basically doing like the
Yeah,
as a person who's made
yeah, that's
ice
right.
cream, like
That's
come
right.
the fuck on.
That's
You
right.
guys are asking me questions I can't even fucking respond. This is maddening. All right, so like just because it has the word cake in it doesn't mean shit. Like if I go up to someone, I'm like, hey, can I have a patty cake? You know, the little clap game. Is that a fucking cake now? Like
You can't eat
Jesus
that.
Christ.
Food. It's not food.
You can't eat
It
it.
doesn't matter.
I mean,
It
does.
doesn't matter. I'm just talking about just because it has the
Let's
word
not
cake in
stick
it.
to food here, and then
You should.
someone-
You,
every
you
food
should
item
have
has
How about
cake in
this?
it.
should
How
have
about
chosen
this?
a
If
better
someone-
example.
If someone hands me like a clump of mud and said, "Here's a mud pie," is it a fucking pie?
It's
No,
a pie. Yeah,
it's
Technically,
it's a
yeah.
pie I
Oh
would
my
never eat,
God.
but it's a pie
God.
nonetheless.
This is ridiculous.
Like, strawberry shortcake. That's definitely a cake. 100%.
Yeah, because it has shortcake in it.
I'm sorry, real quick. I need to throw to someone with really bad taste trick switch.
I'm currently in Geeks chat arguing whether or not brownie is a cake. It's not.
not.
It's a brownie.
No, a brownie
But
is a
furthermore,
cookie.
we're not discussing recipes. If you go off and you get like a generic ice cream, you know what you're gonna get. You're gonna get like the most average. Like you're gonna get ice cream, right? Cake though is so person by person because everyone has a different recipe and a different way of doing it. That you never like. You might get something
You
too
eat ice
dry. You might get some weird wet shit.
I like the
You might-
risk.
No,
the ice
the
cream
ri-
Could
why
end up
would you?
way better,
about-
dude.
Shut
Ice
up,
cream, you're always
everybody!
here.
Trix is
Sometimes-
talking.
Sometimes you go to get cake and they're like, oh yeah, I substituted the eggs with avocado. Like, you get weird shit thrown in. With ice cream, it is the most consistent, like, you know what you're gonna get every time.
That's not
You can
true.
trust ice cream, you can't trust cake.
I disagree.
I mean, that's not true. There's
Friends.
coconut milk ice cream. There's ice cream that's made out of bananas. It's called nice cream. I've heard about that before. There's cashew milk ice cream. I mean, there's all kinds of different ways to make ice cream.
Yeah, but you know what you're gonna get. You're gonna get cold fucking circle in a bowl.
I know.
First
I'm
of all,
gonna eat
brownies
cake.
are absolutely cake. And after that, I want to throw it to frames.
All right, this is actually referring to what you just said. I said it earlier in the chat. This is a real thing. Like, if you don't agree with me, you're objectively wrong. You can Google it. Brownies are a cookie. They're called bar cookies.
No, you're wrong.
It's not even up for debate. It's 100%.
I don't know
Google it.
why we brought Frames in here. I really don't know why we brought Frames in here. Frames literally came in and he's just saying that nothing is cake besides like your standard birthday cake. Okay, he's not willing to.
Everything is
He's
cake.
not
When
willing
did
to
I say
recognize.
that?
He's not willing to recognize the versatility of cake and how good cake is because of that versatility. You can have someone not like this cake but like this cake. Okay, but with ice cream, if someone doesn't like ice cream, typically they don't like any ice cream. But you can not like a birthday cake but like pancakes. You cannot like pancakes but like a strawberry shortcake. The versatility of cake is actually
Oh,
quite
no, no,
amazing
it's not-
that
whoa,
ice
slow
cream
down.
doesn't hold.
Slow down. Okay, look, you said it 3 times. It's versatility.
Yeah, I know.
Versatility, my bad.
Yeah,
why I
I'm
can't
trying.
even-
Like you said it through the. If it had to been for the 3rd time, I'd have been like, ugh. You know.
I feel like Frames
versatility.
is a plant from Big Ice Cream. Like, if Frames is just
From
here to,
big
like-
ice cream. Do
Okay,
they have
I can't even get
Do
through
they have a
it, though.
lobby?
But all I'm saying is, just because I'd say that, I will say most ice cream cakes are not cakes. It has to have cake in it, at least. I would feel like even if it does have cake in it, it's a cake with ice cream on it. Sure, that's a cake. But the ones at Dairy Queen are literally ice cream with like a layer of like chocolate brittle or whatever in the
Yeah,
middle.
but those
of
are
it.
abominations. What are you talking
They're
about?
so good. And here's the thing: like, I hate this debate because I do love cake. Don't get me wrong, I do love some cake. But like, words mean things, all right, guys. That's all I want to say. Words mean things.
I don't
Exactly.
know. I'm
Words
still hung
mean
up on the whole
things.
brownie
And
thing.
cake.
So
No,
a cake is defined
Let's go
as
back
an
on the
item of
most
soft,
important.
sweet food made from a mixture of flour, shortening, egg, sugar, and other ingredients, baked and often decorated. That is the
Baked,
that is the
not fried.
It's fried. You can have fried cake as well.
Uh-oh.
You can have fried cake as well. Are you saying? Are you saying you can't fry it?
You just read the definition.
Well, you said bake.
Okay, but here's the idea, right? Here's the idea: is that you can cook things in other ways and make them. It doesn't change it, right? Like if I have, let's see, what can you fry and bake at the same time? Potatoes, right? If I fry it, it's French fries. If I bake it, it's a baked potato. But they're both what? Potatoes?
Yeah, but if you're looking up the definition of
Bake
French fry, it says fry, not bake.
No, you bake.
This is true.
You bake
These are facts.
you bake a baked potato. You don't bake French fries.
Yes, you do.
Exactly.
What do you
Bakes
mean?
French fries. What peasant bakes French fries?
Have you ever bought a bag of fries that you bake?
Yeah, I throw it in an air fryer.
Air fryer, okay.
Oh my god, fucking Zoomers.
Well, you don't have one?
I don't have an air fryer. I
Reese
You don't have an
said
air
that he
fryer?
doesn't have an air
Get
fryer.
on
I
it.
will agree. I am on I want to get an air fryer. I should go get one. I just haven't yet. They do seem like they're pretty dope.
Yeah.
Well, as an
wanna air
elitist, you
fry some
definitely
ice
should.
cream.
Yeah,
Yeah.
as an elitist, you definitely should. That's why I'm surprised, right? I just,
I don't microwave a lot of things. I bake a lot of things, but I heard that I had some tendies out of an air fryer once. Yeah, that's what's up. I will totally do that. So yeah, you guys are right on the air fryer.
Sandwiches.
I still can't
Ice
get
cream
over.
sandwiches. A sandwich?
Yes. It's a sandwich.
No.
That's a sandwich.
To
Yeah.
derail this more.
No, don't go down the
Hot
sandwich
dogs
route.
are
'Cause Then you're
sandwiches.
gonna go down the hot dogs or sandwiches
Bro,
route.
if a taco breaks
no,
in half,
no.
it becomes a sandwich. If a taco breaks
Purely
the shell down
ice
the middle,
cream
it's a
sandwich.
sandwich.
No, it's not.
It's a sandwich at that
I will
point.
say a hot dog.
Pizza
It's
is an
sandwich,
open
it
faced
happens.
sandwich.
Yeah, I was gonna
Yeah,
say
so-
it doesn't. Yeah, you don't have to break it. I mean, tacos on a tortilla. That's why I wouldn't call it a fucking sandwich, but I would call a hot dog like an open faced sandwich. Sure.
All right.
yeah,
But
but you
ice
also haven't
cream-
presented enough
Excuse me.
evidence for me to.
Geek is just losing it.
CTV, go ahead.
Well, I
And
just
John,
y'all
you
haven't
got
presented with me with enough evidence as to why it is that you find ice cream to be superior. I feel like that all of your arguments have pretty much melted away, right?
Oh.
And cake is still
Oh.
staying in the
Yeah.
game,
But
right?
I don't feel like you have said anything that makes cake better than ice cream either.
Uh-oh.
Except cake is still here and ice cream's melted away. Talking about tacos now. So
Okay.
guess what? Cake is
Here.
still
We're
here.
Oh,
pulling
no,
out the
my
dad
ice cream-
jokes.
Ice cream melted away, and now I have a milkshake. Oh no!
Until it all just
Enjoy
ends
enjoy
up on
your.
the floor. Just ends up
seems
on the
like-
floor. Like
it
the
seems
dogs
like
just
you're-
got to lick it up now.
Well, if
Seems
we're
like
doing
your
dad
cake has
jokes.
gotten all dried up and crumbly.
Oh.
Oh no!
Like I'll also say this conversation was basically us talking about all the foods that are masquerading and pretending to be cake. It's also proof
Yes.
that cake is superior, really.
I mean, honestly, it can't be superior because
All these foods
So many
trying to be
imitators.
cake.
No, I actually
have
blame.
if you have
Just
cake,
imitating the cake.
I blame
It's a
Big
serious
Cake
form of
for trying
flattery.
to. I blame Big Cake for trying to take other things and be like, yeah, this is cake.
Big cake.
Yeah, they're trying to
Yeah.
get it all part of their thing.
CTV is a big cake plant. I can see it now.
Yeah, and the reality of the situation here, folks, at the end of all of this, because I know Geek was getting ready to take us in a new direction, but like, if ice cream was superior, the old saying wouldn't be, well, that takes the cake.
actually,
Since
Yeah,
that's
I
the
don't-
I got a better
saying,
saying
and it's
for
been
it.
around since
Who's
before anybody
that?
else was here.
I got a better
There's a
saying.
whole lot of precedence for this takes the cake.
All I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I don't
is
give a
that,
shit about that.
You know, if
Yeah, I don't care
ice
about
cream
what
isn't the
Bruins say.
superior thing, then I mean, the phrase, like you can't have your cake and eat it too, wouldn't apply. I mean, you can't eat cake, obviously. If you have cake, you can't eat it. Ice cream is superior. End of story.
Yeah, you guys are like giving us quotes from like before they could freeze shit and fridges.
Yeah.
That's true.
I mean, I can tell you.
I feel like they're, like,
I'm
dusting
not
off
down the ice.
tablets.
Like I'm not down the ice cream train, right? But I will tell you, Amish people make the best ice cream, and they have no freezers, no nothing. They no electricity, but they make the best ice cream. I would still say cake is better, but
How have
Amish
you
people
tried
with no
Amish ice cream?
technology. Because I live in
Italian
Indiana.
ice
you
cream.
not?
Gelato, that's the
I
king
live-
of ice cream.
I live in Indiana.
I'm just
All right.
kidding.
I've
I
heard
want
that.
to let
They
Desmond
let you in to
respond,
eat
and
the
after
ice
that-
cream?
What,
I
you
used
think
they
the Amish
bring
don't
it.
set up shops to go sell their wares? Of course they do.
My grandparents,
All right,
my
all right,
grandparents
all right,
used to
all
live in
right, all right.
Lagodi. It was Amish country.
Dude,
Okay.
I got Amish garlic.
Wait, can I add one more thing? Can I add one more thing and then I'll stop?
Fine.
Is that good?
Yeah,
Okay.
go ahead.
So we keep talking about ice cream cake and debating whether or not it's a cake. You know what it definitely is, though? It's still definitely ice cream, and no one will ever debate that.
But it's also cake.
Which is why it's the best.
Sure, I don't agree with that, but that's the
It
fact
shows
that that's what
it shows the versatility of cake, that cake can
Or
in
does it
fact
show
be
the
ice cream.
Versatility.
or does it show the
versatility of ice cream.
Versatility of cake.
That's not
My
like
bad.
a
That it can be
games.
both.
All right.
It's like Blade.
Oh shit.
With
Well,
that
I
being
think
said,
that the difference in these things is that cake is like a holistic term for a whole dessert, whereas ice cream is a constituent part of other desserts as well, whereas cake usually isn't.
all right. And with that, I think we're gonna go into outro for this. So quick outro on this topic. Give yourself a shout out. Tell people where they can find you. But before that, I just want to thank Danabo for putting this panel together. He's doing an amazing work behind the scene. So yeah, twitch.tv/Danabo and also shellshockcbd.com. Code Danabo and you get 10% on CBD products. So yeah. And yeah, thank you also to our wonderful panelists. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Had a blast hosting this, even if you triggered the living shit out of me. That was fun. But yeah. Yeah, and with that, let's go. Wait, CTV. Anything to add?
I think it's obvious here, folks, right? Twitch.tv/Danabo. Make sure you go over there and let him know, right, that motherfucking Lego Batman is obviously the answer to cake and ice cream. Duh. Okay, so from there, this right here, panelists, this is your one opportunity where you're going to have the direct ear of Mr. Dylan Burns himself, the puppet master of the Hippy Dippy that creates the drama that has driven Twitch politics for the last year. Every Friday night, you know what's happening, folks. That's why you're here. This is your chance. He's listening. I know he is. Tell Dylan why you need to be considered for the Hippy Dippy podcast.
True. That's a good outro, actually. All right, let's go. Yeah, give an outro and shout yourself out. And yeah, let's start with Sprouticus.
I get, you can find me at twitch.tv/thesprouticus, twitter.com/thesprouticus, and hey, Dylan should keep me around because I took a run at the belt and there was a corrupt judge. I don't know what I can do about corrupt judges. Okay, I'm demanding a second run at this belt. All right, because and maybe have a little bit less corruptness amongst your judges. Okay, that way it's a fair game. You know, because this corporation really needs to take charge and actually clean up. All right, clean up the corporation. That way people have a fair shot at this belt.
Yeah. I'm going to throw it 2 frames. And by the way, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, for sure. We're shouting out and leaving, right? That's the.
Like you will.
We're done with the cake. We're done with the cake conversation. Is what I'm asking.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm Freems. I'm a internationally known author, astrologer, psychic, healer, broadcaster, and workshop leader. And I've been a karmic counselor for about 30 years. So come check me out at twitch.tv/Freems. Yeah, thanks for bringing me on for yet another food topic. Also, I want to condemn Danabo real quick for, even though he asked me to come on, for putting me as a D-list streamer on his streamer tier list. I think that we should call for him to redo it and put me up. I mean, honestly, I'm an S tier streamer. It's there's graffiti in Wells that says so. Yeah, I see your eyeballs, Danabo. Anyways, yeah, thanks for having me on. Thanks for asking me on, Danabo. Yeah, I'll talk to you guys later.
All right.
I can't believe you guys let me say all that bullshit, by the way, without anyone saying anything. I'm none of those things that I said.
I know. I was thinking the whole time, like, wow, really?
I was gonna call you for some help.
By the way, I was
thought he
rated
played
S tier by
Minecraft.
Danabo. I was rated S tier by Danabo, so
Oh well, never mind. I don't
hey,
be
it
S
is what
tier
it
then.
is.
I want to be S tier
Yeah,
then.
nah.
Well,
Put me in D.
All right, bye guys.
all right. I'm going to throw it to Hardwood and Sock.
Yeah, no, I just want to, have a closing statement real quick on the ice cream and cake, right? Flies love to eat crap, all right? Have you guys ever been to a 4th of July party, right? Where do all the flies go? They go right to the cake, right? So, obviously, flies attracted to crap, flies attracted to cake, cake is crap, ice cream wins, right? Flies aren't attracted to ice cream, right? So, self-explanatory.
That's a
All right.
weird statement.
All right. But anyway, I'm Hardwood and Sock. I don't have like a set streaming schedule or anything. Kind of try to stream like when I can. But thanks for having me on as always. Moderate conservative content. Find me at twitch.tv/Hardwood and Sock. Thanks again, Geek. Thanks, Danabo. It's a pleasure talking to everybody. Some of you for multiple times, some of you for the first time. So it was a pleasure, and I hope everyone has a wonderful evening.
All right. I'm going to throw it to Desmond.
Yeah.
Should Dylan consider him?
What?
Oh, true. Why should Dylan consider you?
Why should Dylan consider me? Because I feel like I engage in good faith and try to find real solutions to problems, and don't try to stray off topic, I guess.
All right.
And you're an Eagles fan. Hello.
Go Birds.
All right. Desmond, go ahead.
Okay. So yeah, first I want to thank Mr. Geek and CTV for moderating today. I want to thank Danabo for asking me to come back on. I know it's been a few months since I've been here. I want to thank Sprouticus, who took some of my attacks today and kept a smile on his face. I appreciate that. Didn't let it get too personal down there. If you want to find me outside of here, you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Independent Thought. I have a podcast that releases episodes usually every Monday, sometimes more than once a week. And I also have some panels of my own that are on my YouTube channel. Again, just search Independent Thought if you want to find me that way. As far as being considered for Dylan Burns' panel, I'd have to just humbly say that I'm probably not ready yet. I think I need a couple more times down here in some of these panels before I get up to the big leagues. So I think I'm actually making my appeal to Danabo to just have me back on one of these again before I can go up to the big time.
Yeah, anytime. All right. I'm going to throw it to Trick Switch.
Hi, I'm Australian content creator. I go by Trick Switch everywhere, and I have a sleeping puppy behind me, and that's all I've been looking at for I'm just looking at my screen at my little webcam. She's so fucking cute. I think that I should be invited to the Hippy Dippy thing, because I'm really cool. And I have good content. You know what else? I'm gonna play the diversity card. There we go. The only problem is, Danabo messages me for these things at 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning. He's like, hey, it's 4 a.m. Are you able to come on at 7 a.m.? No! I'm asleep the whole time. So as long as I don't get messages when I'm unconscious, I'm usually available full time. I don't do anything. I sit at my little computer, I play my silly little games. This is really fun though, and I've loved meeting all of you guys for the first time.
Yeah. And to Danabo's defense, it's usually how it works. You get people dropping out
Yeah.
a few hours before shows. So yeah.
Clearly, what I heard there is that Trick should be a first consideration, right? Not a backup. She'll show up. That's what I heard. Is that right, Trick?
That's what I'm thinking, yeah.
All right. No Justice.
Yeah, again, as always, thanks again to Danabo and Mr. Geek for the invite on the panel today. I am No Justice. I'm a Britbonger rights activist. I stream evenings British time, which can be afternoon Eastern time, sometimes whenever I feel like it. That's my tag. You can find me on my socials there. I should be on Hippy Dippy regular roundtable, the main event, for 2 reasons. First of all, is to fix Dylan's clear anti-Britbonger bias. He can't just keep on bringing on Chud logic and think that's enough. to have British people on the panel. He needs to at least diversify somewhat. And second of all, clearly there are a dearth of transgender leftists on the Twitch politics sphere, so we really need to keep up the representation for that particular specific demographic as well.
All right. I'm going to throw it to Splunker.
Thank you very much for having me. Yes, I'm the Spelunker. I'm the partner in crime of Chance of Flurry, Carl. There, our show is called Chance of Flurry. We're from Canada. We talk shit about Justin Trudeau. If you're interested in listening to any of that, go check us out on every platform. As for Dylan's show, Hippy Dippy podcast, I think I'm a good addition. I don't talk out of my ass. I bring it. I'm good. I'm willing to provide sexual favors, give or take, for the opportunity, for the chance of appearing on the show, and that's my sign off. Thank you again for having me.
All right.
Okay.
And Cal?
All right. Well, yeah. I mean, I don't have much to add to that. I would second everything that my co-host has to say here, and you can find us at the exact same spot. Another thing that I would like to add, though, is that if I get the chance to come back on, I would like to show everybody why pie is, in fact, way better than both cake and ice cream.
Oh, God, here we go.
Get out.
We go.
All right, listen, maybe you could be our next expert next time we're bringing this topic. Yeah.
I still want to know how a brownie is not a cake, but we'll figure that out next time, I guess.
Yeah, I don't want to go. Never mind.
All right.
CTV for the final word.
All right. Well, I want to thank everybody for being here today. It's been a fun day. It's been a fun conversation. I've laughed a few times. Nobody's cried. So that's good, right? It's good. Nobody cried. Everybody laughed. We had a good fucking time. So appreciate everybody being here tonight, right? Let me ask this clarifying question. Splonker and Carl, are y'all co-hosts? Is that the...
Yeah, co-hosts. We have we co-host our podcast.
I just wanted to make sure that I was aware that both of y'all were offering sexual favors. That's all it was, right? Because you said you reiterated everything you said. I'm just trying to make sure I know who's offering, right?
Okay.
I was acting independently myself, but
Let's take it.
agreed.
So that I'm just like, that makes sense though with what they said about wanting to make the argument for pies, right? And so from there, folks, I'm critically thinking veteran. I had a fun time tonight. I hope you did too, Mr. Geek. I know you had a great time.
Hell yeah.
And with that, unless Mr. Geek's got something else, CTV is out.
Real quick, hardwood and suck. Did you go or?
Huh? Yeah, no, I went.
Okay. I wasn't sure. Like for the whole time, I thought I forgot someone.
No, you're good, man.
All right, perfect. Thank you everyone for being here. Really had a blast hosting this. I'm going to say goodbye to my chat and.
All right, see you guys later.
All right.
Have a great one, guys.
See ya.
All right.